All right, hello everybody. This is A7X Fan Ben with three others. We've got God Mason along with two guests. We have Xerix and Captain Vendari here, and this is episode number 26 of the Pirate CSG podcast, and we're going to be doing the Fire and Steel set review. But first of all, it's exciting that we've got four people. How is everybody tonight?
Great.
Yeah,
been a long week. The only one.
I'm excited.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, it's a record number, so it's definitely gonna be a long episode with all the stuff to talk about. So Fire and Steel, Fire and Steel came out in 2008. It was the 12th set released, and we're gonna go over some of the keywords that showed up in the set that were debuted in this set. So, God Mason, if you want to talk about the Bombardier.
Yep, Bombardiers are. Well, let me, while I talk, pull up specifically what they are. Now, what Bombardiers are, they were a ship type introduced that sort of rides the line between 3 and 4 masts. Technically, they have 3 masts and then a gun up front that, depending on how you set up the ship, you had 2 options. You could either make it a fire cannon or you could basically give it extended range. Either one, no matter which one you pick, if you roll a 1, you can destroy it, and you need a repair action to fix it. They tended to be really expensive, and as a result, most of them are actually pretty bad.
Yep. Yeah, they're kind of a overpriced, kind of a mediocre ship type.
And as for the other ship type, does anybody want to talk about the Switchblade?
I will. The Switchblade. Yeah, the Switchblade is one of my favorite ship types aesthetically. Switchblades have 2 blades on the side that swing out and can be used to ram other ships. And I don't remember, you don't get a boarding bonus if you use the blades to ram, do you?
No, it doesn't.
You're not pinned. No, you don't.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's it. You're not pinned.
Yeah.
If it's by blade only, you're not pinned.
Yep.
Right. That's it.
Yeah, after this ship completes a move or a shoot action, if any part of either blade is touched an enemy ship during that action, all of those ships are considered to have been rammed and may be boarded. So you get to do the ram rolls and the boarding rolls, and you can extend and retract the blades whenever you want. So there's not much of a limit to how many ships could be affected by it. So it's pretty interesting. All right. Yeah, it looks like we're... Yeah.
A disclaimer on whenever you want. That whenever you want means only during shoot and move actions, I believe.
Yeah, that's what I said at the beginning. I was reading.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Right.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Okay.
All right. So
just wanted to clarify.
Yeah. So we'll jump into the pieces here. We're going to start with the first ships and then go over the whole set, basically. So we're going to do an alphabetical order based on usernames, where we're going to talk about each ship in detail. So I'll start things off with ship number 001, which is the Foresight. So this is a pirate 5-masted rare ship. It's 14 points, 6 cargo, L move. Cannons are 4S, then 3 3S's in the middle, and then a 4S at the stern as well. And once per turn, if the ship carries treasure and is within S of an enemy ship, you can randomly trade 1 treasure with that ship, and a link to Barstow, who we'll see soon, which is a decent named crew. The Foresight I see mostly as kind of a weird pirate hybrid ship. I like to put Barstow and Hammersmith aboard with an oarsman, because then that fills up the ship's 14-point cost. And we'll see those crew soon. You basically a captain, helmsman, explorer, gold capture, and oarsman for basically 1 cargo space taken up, because Barstow links, and then the oarsman doesn't take up space, and then the oarsman protects those 2 crew. So that's the combo I usually use with this ship. You could just go captain and helmsman, but the guns aren't that great. So this is kind of a weird hybrid, I would say, for the pirates.
I'm one of those weird people that compares everything to my favorite ships, and one of my favorite ships is Roanoke, and Foresight is, to me, sort of a worse version of Roanoke, 1 point more expensive. The middle guns are 3S instead of 3L, while the cargo space and base move are the same. The link is, I don't think, exceptional, and I would say the ability is, if anything, kind of worse. They both can use pirate crew, but for 1 point cheaper, you get American crew as well on the Roanoke, as well as better guns. So I'm not a big fan.
Yeah. Yeah, any ideas, Vendar?
Vendar?
Yeah.
Or are you still thinking?
Yeah.
I'm still thinking.
Yeah. No, that's
Well,
fine.
then we can throw Xerax first if you want.
Yeah.
All right, I'll jump in on my 2 cents. I actually like the Foresight quite a bit.
Yeah.
I do like to put her linked crew on her as often as possible. However, I don't usually put Hammersmith on board because, yeah, even though I can do that, I usually put Hammersmith on some other ship. Or I try to find a way to get S board because I really hate being pinned to other ships.
Yep.
Makes
a lot of sense.
That's a thing with me.
Yeah.
The other thing, yeah, I've also run the Foresight as just, a plain, large durable gold runner with just like, a helmsman, an explorer, and an oarsman. But with 6 cargo spaces, you've got enough cargo and point space. You could throw on some kind of world-hating sack person like Derek the Red or the South China Seas version of the Headhunter, and fill up that cargo space with, Captain Helmsman and sack food, and you've got a decently formidable gunship. Maybe not top of the line like some of the other pirate stuff has, but definitely one that should not be taken lightly if it's crewed up correctly.
Yeah.
I will say I don't really like her ability because I would never really use it.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, when I have an enemy ship with an S of an enemy ship, I'm usually shooting at it, which means I have a gunship with an S of an enemy ship, not some kind of gold runner thing. So.
Yeah, I would say this ship is actually, one thing I noticed recently, it's just a directly inferior version to La Victoire from Crimson Coast, which is another Pirate 5 Master, 14 points, 6 cargo L move, and just better cannons, and a slightly better ability. So it is kind of just a direct downgrade, but that being said, between the link and using it as like a durable hybrid, I think the ship is a little bit underrated, maybe.
I'd agree.
Yeah.
All right.
I guess I actually do now have a thought, actually. I want to say with the power decreep in Pirates, and the thought behind Pirates of the Cursed Seas being a bit of a soft reboot, WizKids did do a bunch of rebalancing, at least, from what I can tell, with the stats in Rise of the Fiends and Fire and Steel here. So with it being a direct downgrade, I mean, one of the ways I've always seen Cursed Seas is that it's kind of its own little game that you can play with the older stuff, but it's still more on its own.
Yeah, it's more balanced if you play it against itself and separate them. Yeah.
Then again, I'm not so sure it compares favorably with the best of Rise of the Fiends or even of most of Savage Shores.
Oh, that I 100% agree with that too. Yeah, Foresight's one of those ships I see. It's like, this ship looks cool. I may want to try to use it. It's got decent cargo, but it's probably not going to make the cut.
Mm-hmm. Onward to Trinity.
Yep.
Onward.
Oh, I like this one.
All right. Now, were we going to do a rotation of who starts reading as well, or?
Yeah, same order for that. Yeah.
All right. Trinity is a 5-masted Spanish ship. This one is 15 points, 5 cargo, S move, all 3 S guns, and this ship gets plus S to her base move if she has all of her masts. I really don't like this because what you effectively have here is a debuff ability. You can rephrase it, and it's basically the same thing as having 2S base move and then losing S when you start to lose masts. It's not exceptionally fast. It's not well armed. It doesn't have all that much cargo space. It's not really cheap. It's a good looking ship, but I don't think it performs well.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I think it's okay, but you really need a Captain Helmsman to make it adequate. But the problem is she kind of starts at like a decent point and then she just goes down from there. So I actually had a game where she started off with Captain Helmsman. She's moving 3S, which is solid for a 5-master at 20 points total. But then she lost a mast, then it was S plus S, and then she lost her helmsman eventually. So then she was only S. So it's kind of just a rough go of it. I think she could be like 12 or 13 points and be at least a little bit more viable.
I agree with 13.
Yeah, 13 looks like it would be fair for this ship. With an ability like losing speed, that should definitely bring down the point cost.
Mm-hmm. Anything to add, Xerax?
I suppose not really. I mean, I like the Trinity personally. She was like one of like 3 Spanish 5-masters I had for the longest of times. So I have a little bit of a soft spot. I like large cargo hold ships like this because it's always possible, or I wasn't to think of ways to make it turn into a sack build. And the Spanish got their first ever sack crew in Return to Savage Shores, Sebastian Rojo. So him on here, plus, a captain, maybe a helmsman, and some other sack food looks like oodles of fun. Just, one way or another. Mm-hmm. But I will agree, I do wish her base move was faster. Just being L instead of S would make her, so much better. And maybe worth the 15-point cost.
Yeah, quite possibly. Something else small I wanted to add. Trinity appears on the box for Savage Shores, but not in the set, which was really confusing to me for quite a while.
Wow, that does sound familiar. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What's even more confusing is that I think some of the adventure book stuff was on the box as well, and that only got like a 1-of-1 release, so that's even weirder. Yeah.
You might be right there. Wait, I've got a Savage Shores box right next to me. Give me just a second to have a look at the art. Yeah,
this ship also triggers my brother. And it triggers him not because of anything stat-wise, but because of the name. It says it shouldn't be Trinity, it should be Trinidad.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
So, you know what? Whatever, man.
Isn't that a city in Ohio?
I actually don't know. I like the artwork on the sails, though. That artwork's real cool.
Absolutely. And I don't remember who it was that said that it appeared, or there was stuff on the Savage Shores box from the adventure book. But they're right. One of the One Masters is on the right side picture on the back of the Savage Shores box.
Yeah.
Which is kind of strange. You can't even read the ship because the artwork is small enough.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. Vendari, the Apollo?
Oh, yes. One of my favorite ships, at least narratively. So we've got the HMS Apollo, Fire and Steel version. It's a 5-mast English ship that costs 13 points, 3 cargo space, S+S base move. Cannons are 2S, 3L, 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 2S. And its ability is, when the ship is docked at your home island, you can eliminate 1 treasure. It becomes a 3S cannon that can be eliminated only when the ship sinks. And she's got a link to Thomas Gunn. So, I honestly prefer the Rise of the Fiends version better, just because it's got more cargo space. But this one is definitely built for battle. The ability to add an extra cannon is can be pretty powerful, but you're exchanging your win condition for this power.
So maybe a ship for bigger games?
Yeah.
Oh,
absolutely.
definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, most definitely.
Mm-hmm. If I had to list a pet peeve about this ship, it's that they're 3S guns and none of the others are 3S. You have 3Ls and 2S, which might make it kind of hard to remember. Wait, which one am I rolling for?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah. And this ship is solid. I definitely think either version of the Rise of the Fiends Apollo could be better, especially the re-rolling one. But yeah, this one is good to just camp out at your home island, get a bunch of extra cannons in a big game, and then finally sail out with, a juggernaut that has, 10 cannons or something like that.
Yeesh.
Yeah, good link too, because Thomas Gunn is one of the better English name crew.
Yeah, both versions are pretty nice. You got the Rise of the Fiends version, which is a captain helmsman.
Oh, that'd be real cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. But then you have what's coming up with the Fire and Steel version, who gets a promotion to admiral
in the cabinet.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that. So no, I haven't fed her.
Uh-oh, someone didn't feed the pet.
Oh, wait.
Maybe it's Empress.
Wait, was that not muted? I thought that was.
You were not muted.
We heard that loud and clear.
Wow.
Is it Empress?
Sorry, dude.
Anyway.
No, that's just funny. I'm trying not to bring the conversation into this. Anyway.
As I was saying, though, Thomas Gunn and Fire and Steel got a promotion to Fleet Admiral. So that's something that could also be useful on this ship, being able to give any ship +1 to the cannon rolls, including herself. So.
Yeah. I like the 5-masted versions of the HMS Apollo. I don't think I have the 3-masted version from Barbary Coast. This is the cheapest one, isn't it, at 13? Because the other two are both, like, what, 14, I think?
Yeah,
Yep.
that sounds right.
So, if you're looking at things strictly from, okay, what can I get most bang for my buck? I would choose this one, even though the ability is situational. Unless you find, like, a bunch of 1s and 0s, then I would not use that ability. I covered that pretty well on Carbon Charlie in my review for him. Yep. About how not only does it take, time to make that cannon, it takes a treasure, and, especially here on the Apollo, your gunship, which is probably like the one you built your fleet around, is sitting at home doing nothing, pretty much. Yeah. So it's situational and more or less built for those gigantic games that can last forever. Yep. She's got decent enough cargo to be just, a straight, simple captain helmsman, maybe something else. Although, if you brought up the link to Thomas Gunn, if you bring in the Rise of the Fiends one, which is the captain helmsman, you've got 3 spaces for all kinds of extra stuff. And enough, I think, point space as well. Overall, not bad.
I would like to add that Apollo is not quite as good at that role as, say, HMS Dreadnought plus Carbon Charlie.
Oh, that's my favorite combo for him.
Mm-hmm.
Although combo for him.
Although that's absolutely far more expensive than Apollo is. But if you're going to do this ability, you might as well do it right.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, just another thought. Who says HMS Apollo has to sit at home? I mean, she has 3 cargo space. She can go out, get some treasure, come back, exchange those treasures for cannons, and go out and destroy things.
Mm-hmm. I hadn't thought of that, but okay, that's a way to do it, I suppose. She's got an S+S base move. On a 5er, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is pretty good.
Yeah, for 13 points for this speed and for those guns, you could ignore the ability and just be a pretty solid, somewhat on a budget gunship for the English. So
this is definitely a budget 5er.
I suppose if you went with Thomas Gunn and what is it? It's not Brother Virgil. It's first mate Ismail. You could make a good hybrid out of her.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, yes.
Mm-hmm. Shall we move on?
That might be pushing it a little bit.
Yeah, maybe. 3 cargo is still low for a 5. Yeah, but yeah.
No, because Thomas Gunn is linked.
Yeah, I know.
So that would push it up to 4 with Ismail.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, should we move on to Neptune?
Yes.
Yep.
I believe that's you, Pandari.
All right.
Or wait again.
Derek's.
Oh, never mind.
That's me for the Neptune.
That's my bad memory.
It's all right. Oh boy, the Neptune. Okay, we got 5 masts for a Frencher, 14 points, 3 cargo space, base move L. Cannons are all range of S, but the front 2 are 2 S's, and the next 3 after that are 3 S's. And she gets +1 to her boarding rolls and links to Philippe Jourdan, who I believe is some kind of escort captain.
Yeah, he's an escort captain.
I mean, this just feels kind of vanilla to me. It's kind of This doesn't really stand out ability-wise. The link is not a whole lot of cargo. Cannons are nice, I guess. But if I had to use the Neptune, I don't think I'd use Philippe Jourdan on it. Because I think what I would probably do is I'd just use this to ram other ships. The front 2 cannons are the most accurate, to just run headlong into them, deal the most damage, and then use your +1 to boarding roll then. Yeah. But in order to be able to catch a ship, to ram it and board it, you need to be a little quick, and base move of L, and with only 3 cargo spaces, not really fast enough. I mean, I would put my extra action crew on another French capital ship, not this one.
I agree. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Neptune seems I kind of feel like her looks outshine the ship itself. Like, she's one of the pretty French ships I've seen, but stat-wise, the low cargo, somewhat high cost, the ability is pretty meh, and 2 of the cannons are quite good, the other ones are pretty average, so this one strikes me as solid and kind of cool, but I think the prettiness of the ship is actually better than the ship itself in game.
Yeah, Neptune she's pretty, but she's incredibly vanilla, kind of fitting for a lot of the French faction, but honestly, I mean, there's a more interesting ship coming up next. Not necessarily really interesting, but more so.
Yeah.
and probably just a tad better.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So that next ship is the Monique. So this is a French 5-master as well, another rare. It's 14 points, 3 cargo, L move, so those are all the same. But then the cannons are quite different, 3L, 3L, 2L in the middle, and then 3L, 3L at the stern, so mostly 3Ls. And then other ships do not block this ship's line of fire. So this is a decent ability to have on a ship with L-range cannons, especially a lot of them. So the Monique kind of reminds me of the Neptune, because she is pretty similar. The Neptune is kind of like a pretty upfront, like short-range brawler with a boarding ability, and then S-range cannons. This ship's L-range cannons, and then that ability. So this is kind of like the opposite, kind of a long-range fighter, but still a brawler. And still a nice-looking ship, kind of interesting looking, a little more unique. Overall, the Monique, I would say, is a pretty solid French gunship, but they still have better 5-masters as usual. So it's good, but not too much better than the Neptune.
This I swear there's another French 5-master with this ability and all L-range guns. I don't think it's Les Superbes. Can anybody help me out?
No, that is that's it.
I thought it was
the Superb.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Superb.
Yeah, the Superb the Superb isn't that much more expensive, but all her stats are significantly better.
Yeah.
Monarch is pretty, but if you're going to use this ability and a French 5-master, go with the Superb.
Yep.
Or if you need Superb on a budget, here's the Monet.
Maybe.
Here's the downgraded version of the Superb.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the Superb outshines this in every single possible way.
Well, it's also more expensive.
Yeah. Well, if you have both ships in your collection and they're basically the same, I would go with the Superb over this, because I think the Superb has more cargo. Yeah. And is it faster? I don't recall.
Yeah, it's S plus S. Yeah, it's better in every way except for the
I would spend the 2 points to get the Superb over this any day.
Yep. All right. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god.
Artwork is pretty interesting though. Lots of detail on those sails.
Yeah.
Imagine the people who make the sails for these ships. It's like, but I'm thinking if you actually had to make that in reality, that would be so much of a chore.
Yeah.
So if you sails that big with that much detail, it's like, no.
Yeah, especially if it's going into battle and it's just going to get torn.
Yep.
Yep. All right. Next up is the USS Concordia, which kind of excites me. We were talking earlier about the HMS Dreadnought, and this is its American analog. USS Concordia is a 5-masted American ship, 21 points, 4 cargo, L move, all 3S guns. The ability is this ship's cannons cannot be eliminated. Masts still can be. If derelict, she can't shoot. Link Montana Maze. I like this. In many ways, she's not as good as the Dreadnought, but I would like to point out that she does have some pretty good options if you want to go with other versions of Montana Maze. I would say the Ocean's Edge version, an oarsman, and maybe Ralph David as well as a captain, and then why not add a musketeer or a world hater or something? And then you've got a ship that can't really be towed because you can't eliminate the oarsman because you've got a crew saving ability, but you also so you can't tow it, so you have to sink it, but because it would have eternal through Ralph David, you just get it straight back.
Yep.
So I think this is a very powerful American ship, but not one for a small game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I used it in a 100-point game, and I used a very similar setup to what you described. And it is frustrating because my opponent was like, this is like an unkillable ship. Like, that's OP. but yeah, I think between the cost and the mediocre cannons, it does hold her back a bit. And she's not very viable for 40-point games. She can be a monster. This is one of those ships, kind of like the Dreadnought, where you really want to put a ton of crew aboard. Like, you don't want to not optimize this ship. So with crew, you're probably going to be spending 36 points minimum, possibly 40 or 42 might even be the max. So it's a monster. Yep. Oh, and then another one, they got Albert Crenshaw is one of those L-range boosters. Usually they're not very viable, but a ship like this or the Franklin are pretty good ships for him if you're actually going to use that for once. Yep. All right.
Yeah, I'll put on as a last little touch here. That setup you mentioned, God Mason, with the oarsman and not being able to kill him, that does two things. A, as you mentioned, you can't capture the ship to make it your own, and it therefore protects it from being eternal, or protects it the eternal guy. B, if derelict, she can't shoot. Due to the way they changed the oarsman ability, if a ship has an oarsman, it's never really derelict. So even if this thing doesn't have all of its masts, you're still looking at something shooting at you with 5 cannons all the time. So the only way to effectively get rid of this for good is to like either cancel one of the myriad abilities she has on board. But that's risky because, you could be like missing a canceller elsewhere in a battle.
Yeah. And then the other thing is, with the high cost and the decent cargo, you can put the American canceller Turner aboard and then try to cancel them.
Oh goodness!
Yeah,
adding
crazy.
Turner to that setup makes this ship virtually unstoppable, unless you want to use an event.
Yeah,
it's the immortal ship.
You either sink it multiple times just to try to get like a respite and try to like end the game while it's repairing or sailing back towards you, or with two cancellors in that setup, you could try to cancel Eternal at the opportune moment, but that's about it.
Or just use a Kraken.
Maybe.
Maybe.
That's a little simpler, I think. Or Curse Captain Jack. Nothing but parlay.
Parlay the Concordia to the bottom of the sea. We're going to pay you to sink. Yep. All right. Something funny I wanted to point out is the Cursed don't get a 5-master. The French get 2 mediocre ones. What's the deal with kids?
That's because the French didn't get a single 5-master in, I think, Rise of the Fiends. Yeah. That's probably why they got 2.
Yeah. Rise of the Fiends was a cursed set, so...
Yeah, but the Cursed didn't get a 5-master there, really. They got, the Scorpion things.
Yeah,
that's true, too.
They look cool, but don't really work.
Yeah, they always get, gimmicky stuff rather than the 5-masters, it seems like, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, even here, eventually down the line, they got a 5er here, but it was kind of meh, or downright bleh.
Yeah.
One of the...
Yeah, they hardly have any 5-masters that are, regular rarities.
They've got 3 exactly that aren't squids.
Yeah, exactly. And only one is not a super rare special edition, limited edition, stuff like that.
One, essentially.
Yep.
All right. Was Pestilence Vendari's ship?
Yeah, that's my turn. I think so, right? Yeah.
I believe so.
It's been 3 ships since I've read, so yeah. Okay, so we have the Pestilence. It's a cursed 1-master for 9 points. It's got 3 cargo space, base move of S+S, and a 3S cannon. Her ability is pretty good. Masts on the ship can't be eliminated by shots unless the cannon roll is a 6. It's a decent ability. Unfortunately, with a 1-master, it's usually better to just ram anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The main time I've used this is to copy this to a 10-master with Davy Jones. That's about it. So, other than that, I'd just use her as an empty gold runner for the Cursed in a big game. But unless you're going to copy this, I would say there's definitely, even for the Cursed, even they have better ships than this to run gold with.
Yeah, that's a good point. If that's not what you're going to... That basically is the only good use for Pestilence that you pointed out, copying this ability. Aside from that, this is kind of gross.
Yeah, I've used it as a ship. Yeah, it is kind of gross, Pestilence and all. But I've used this as just a place to stick the Cursed Chieftain and just leave it at my home island.
Right.
And just be done with it. Because, as you said, the Cursed, apparently, or incredibly, have better options for gold. This isn't really a very good gunship or anything at all. And the ability doesn't really suit a 1-master. It's infinitely better on anything that's got more than 1 mast. So I just kind of leave it at my home island and hide the Cursed Chieftain on it.
Yeah. Solid. Alright. Let's move on then.
I think Newport is yours there, X.
Alrighty. Newport. We've got a 1-masted English ship here. 8 points, 3 cargo space, base move of L, and a 3L cannon. And the ability of this ship gets +1 to her cannon rolls against targets without all of their masts. I'm not very impressed by this at all, really. I mean, the ability is kind of cool, but I don't know if I'd ever really use this.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I don't think I have really, at least not realistically, in any reasonably sized game. It's pretty much useless for the most part. I would say maybe 4 or 5 points would make it reasonable, but still not that great.
I know bilge is much rarer, but I would rather use bilge.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's
too.
because it's faster, better gun, doesn't have kind of a dumb ability.
Yeah.
Yeah, Newport can go away.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Jeez.
Find a new port to go to, man. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Find a Newport.
Yeah. Nice. All right.
Anything for you, Silver? Yeah, Silvax? Right? No, it's Vendari.
Yeah, I've got
with an RI.
This ship, no, just nothing.
Yeah, I can go to the next one, I guess.
Yeah.
HMS Minerva is only a little bit better, I would argue. It's an English one-masted sloop. It's another rare 7 points, 2 cargo, SS move. The cannon is 3L, and L-range cannons can't hit this ship. So similar to the Pestilence, another defensive ability that's not that great on a one-master due to the ramming damage. This one, it's got okay speed. The cost isn't too crazy. I would say it's a tiny bit better than Newport because her role as a support gunship is slightly easier to justify. But that being said, I don't think this is worth more than 4 or 5 points either.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I were to use this ship, I would say every time she got anywhere near another ship, it would make me nervous. That was deliberate. This is way too expensive. Defensive abilities on one-masted ships are totally worthless unless they're immunity to ramming. That's what I think.
Okay. That does make them a teeny bit more viable, that ability on one-masters.
Yeah. I think they're a lot more important the smaller the ship gets. That's all I have to say.
Cool. All right.
Yeah.
Wait, I'm not the last one in line for the Minerva, right?
No.
Or have I just summed it up?
You've summed it up pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right.
I mean, whenever someone mentions this, I always wind up thinking about Professor McGonagall because that's her first name.
Oh, yeah.
That's about it.
She doesn't live up to McGonagall.
Yeah.
All right, I guess I'll take the next one. I'm not totally sure how this is pronounced. I believe it's Je. This is a French one-master. This one's instead 5 points, 3 cargo, L move, 3 S gun. When this ship carries no cargo, she gets plus S to her base move. Nothing super special for the French, because you can basically get something a bit better than this from Crimson Coast. It is L'Intrépide. You get an extra mast, a bit more cargo. But in the context of Fire and Steel, this is actually a pretty decent little gold runner.
Oh yeah, she's very good for Fire and Steel.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a nice looking ship, a lot of good colors, and as an empty gold runner, this one is pretty solid for the French. So just LS on the way out, 3 coins, back at L, and a solid option. All right.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah,
also, I think she's like one of the 2 cheapest ships in this set.
Yeah.
I think you're right there.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, we can go on. Vendari's up next.
Yeah, so we've got the Aragon next. Another one-master. She also costs 5 points for France. With 2 cargo space, base move, S plus S, 2S cannon, and another defensive ability. 2 hits from the same shoot action are required to eliminate one of this ship's masts. Again, easily bypassed simply by ramming the ship. She's got a great cannon, though, but with 5 points, you can put a captain helmsman on her, but I'd rather put them somewhere else.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's a better support gunship than the Newport or Minerva, but you're still probably
That's
not
not saying much.
on her. Yeah.
It's a better support gunship than all the previous ones.
It's a better support gunship than the piece of gum stuck to the bottom of my shoe. Mostly because that piece of gum doesn't actually have any stats. Which I guess is something more redeemable than you can say about the Arrogant, which is a bad ship. Yeah, good gun, but you're paying far too much for 1 2S gun.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Whose is USS Destiny?
I believe that's me, because Vendari just did the Aragon, yes?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right, USS Destiny. Thank heavens it's the last one master. All right, one-masted ship, American, 5 points, 2 cargo space, space with S+S, a 3L cannon, and you may double the range of this ship's cannons each turn. Cannons? But you must roll a 6 to hit. Cannons. There's only one.
I think it's just a copy and paste, to be completely honest.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I know. Yeah. Well, this is the only one that has a halfway decent offensive ability. I mean, rolling a 6 is not easy. So, but, a chance to shoot at something from, assuming you put a captain and helmsman on this, you'd be able to sail 3S and then shoot at something an additional 2L away if you got that 6. So that's impressive range for a tiny ship.
Yeah.
However, I'd rather use, the El Neptuna, which has this exact ability, much better crew, and much bigger.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yep.
Yeah.
I would like to add something funny. This is very similar to another American ship called Destiny, which has the exact same ability. I wonder if they're canonically the same, which would be kind of weird because this is a one-masted sloop and the other was a square-rigged three-master.
Yeah.
In my experience, the original Destiny is not nearly as good as you think she is, because if you don't use the ability, her guns are terrible. If you do use the ability, her guns are still terrible.
And they've only got S+S range.
Yeah, only S+S range, and you've got a 1 in 6 chance of hitting. If you're within S range, you've got 1 in 3 chance of hitting, which is still pretty abysmal. They have the same base move speed. You can make the argument that this one being cheaper, you can throw a captain on her and throw a Minuteman behind her, and you've got something kind of usable. But the Americans do have better options for flotilla tugs.
Oh yeah, they've got bigger, faster options for flotilla tugs. Ones that can, shoot on their own as well.
Yeah.
And not be disabled
rammed
by
out of
ram.
existence.
Yeah.
I think my favorite flotilla tug is the Boston. I think because it's got an S+L base move.
Mm-hmm.
That looks pretty good.
Yeah, and plenty of firepower on its own.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I like a few, like Jarvis is kind of similar to Boston, but pricier, and then Peacock is pretty decent too. But anyway, I'll move on to the next ship, which is the Draconum, which is the first bombardier, and it's a pirate 3-master, rare, and 13 points, 3 cargo, L move. All 3 cannons are 3S. All the bombardier cannons are 3S, technically. And along with the keyword, it says eliminate one of the ship's masts when she rolls a 1 on any cannon roll. So we've got a negative ability, which helps keep the cost down. The problem is, I feel like all the bombardiers are too expensive. So you're basically just getting, I mean, it's an extended range option, but most people are going to use the flame strike cannon, and I've used that mostly in the past. So firepot specialists are only 2 points, and they don't jam like the cannon might on a 1.
Yeah.
So I don't really think any of these are going to be worth their cost. The Draconum is the cheapest, and that being said, she's pretty boring. I would say everything is pretty much average. The negative ability doesn't really keep the cost down enough. I think at 10 or 11 it might be more usable. I would say kind of like the Neptune, it's just a random thought, but I feel like it looks better than it performs. I've always thought this looked like a Batman ship almost. I feel like if Batman wasn't pirates, I feel like the Draconum would be like his ship or something. But that's about all I got.
Not the Batavian Bat?
Yeah, that works too.
Well, see, your problem there is that Batman doesn't use guns, and Draconum's got a giant gun on the front.
Yeah.
We didn't say anything about flamethrowers.
Something tells me that rule extends to flamethrowers. But Draconum, you're right, Ben. This is a 10 or 11 point ship. You absolutely can't pay more for it than that. It's just not good. You're not getting a good deal on anything at this point cost, or even if it were 10 or 11, you'd still be kind of sitting there with a ticking time bomb of a 4-master. Not a good option, period, unless you like putting yourself at risk for bad die rolls.
Okay, Ben and I have been there and done that.
Yeah. We're gonna see one of my least favorite ships later in the set, but anyway.
Well, one thing I'd like to add is, while she's not all that great for pirates, I would probably throw this ship at my players in the Pirates RPG.
Oh, cool.
It's a very nice aesthetic. She's on the list of things I want to show off to my friends. So
thematically too, you could use this theme in an RPG, or you could use the ability in an RPG. So maybe players have to sneak aboard and sabotage the ship and get herself to blow up.
Oh, there's that too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you're right. This is a good RPG ship.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Even though the Draconum is pirate and therefore has access to the best crew ever in the game, I take that negative ability very seriously because I have rolled 4 1s in a row. Yeah. And rolling 4 1s in a row with this would mean your ship is dismasted and the flame strike cannon is jammed.
Yeah.
So, even if this is the cheapest one and you really shouldn't pay any more for a bombardier, I mean, this is where one of those things are like, cost versus ability. Like, I think we talked about with the Neptune and the Superb. Yeah, the Neptune is cheaper, the Monarch is cheaper, but the Superb is better all around. The Draconum is the cheapest bombardier, but I think there's at least one that ability-wise might be better. Maybe.
Cool.
There are. Speaking of further bombardiers, the next one is called Bombardier. It's English. It's 18 points, 3 cargo, L move, and now the guns are really strange. 3S, 2L, 3L, 3L. Obviously, the first one being the cannon on the front. The ability is when the ship hits another ship, you choose which mast is eliminated. This is... so that's like a not very good, slightly overpriced crew ability from Spanish Main, which I think raises the point cost by like 3. It's really not very well armed for its cost. I mean, you can get HMS Gallows for 2-3 points cheaper. And I think the Gallows, so the Gallows is better armed, has more cargo space, and a more useful ability. Yeah. This is just really not good. I would say this is maybe a 12-point ship, maybe 13.
That sounds about right to me. Yeah. I like using this ship in a huge game just as part of like a fire squadron, just for the fun of it. I would never want to use it in a smaller game. It's a unique ship in that you can kind of go crazy because I believe you can get 4 fire hits on one turn if you get fire shot, exploding shot, fire pot specialist, and then if you use first mate Ismail and the version of Thomas Gunn that combines captain and helmsman, you can actually make that work even with the captain and helmsman aboard. It's a pretty weird combo, but it is fun to try out if you want like a fiery, flaming ship of doom.
A firing squad.
Yeah.
Next
up, anybody? Who was it? I think it's Juvendar for the Conquerant.
Yeah, it's me. Got Conquerant. The one of the French bombardiers, one of 2. And honestly, I think it's more of the better looking, in my opinion. She's 21 points, 3 cargo space, S plus S move, so she's the fastest of the bombardiers. And her cannons are 3S, 2S, 2L, 2S. Kind of a weird mixture there. Then her ability is, of course, the bombardier keyword, plus once per turn on roll a d6. On a 5 or 6, this ship can be given an extra action. I like the ability. I just think she's way too expensive. For 21 points, I would rather have HMS Endeavor.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And for 21 points, I'd take the Concordia.
Yeah.
I would say this is the best Switchblade because it's got the best speed, best guns, and best ability.
Even though it's a bombardier.
Yeah.
It's still better than most of the Switchblades.
I didn't know I said that wrong.
I might argue with you on that for the Saber, but
yeah, no, that's a good point.
Well, at least you're not yelling about feeding your dog.
Yeah.
But really, Conquerant, I think, is easily the best of the bombardiers. She has the best ability that sort of comes within at least several points of justifying her cost. She's not necessarily good, because she doesn't have a lot of cargo space. Her guns are pretty good, but really nowhere near what her point cost would demand. Ability's good. I mean, I'd rather have like La Corsa, which is cheaper and definitely the better gunship.
Yeah.
But among bombardiers, this is, I'd say, clearly the best.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you're also paying for fragility because you're paying essentially 7 points per mast, which is a huge amount to pay. If you think about like a 2-master at 14 or a 4-master at 28, that's just a really high premium to pay for regardless of what you're getting. So, yeah.
Like,
All right, I'll be right back.
What was WizKids thinking when they priced these ships?
I think what they did a lot of was kind of going, oh, we have this cool idea. Is it actually good in gameplay? I don't care. Let's make it 8 points.
There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, they did have fast turnaround between sets. I mean, for a long time, it was like 4 to 6 months between when sets came out. And, that's devising pieces, names, doing research, and coming up with artwork. And, yeah, they were busy. But at the same time, you feel like they could have hired one intern. They could have hired one of us at age 10, given us like 2 packs a day, and we gladly would have balanced the game for them.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, never mind. I don't have any more to say. I forgot.
Yeah, there's.
I don't really have much to say about this.
Then why don't we move on to Grand Vainqueur for Xerex?
All right, cool. All right, so the Vainqueur, the other French bombardier, another 21-point ship, 3 cargo space move L, cannons 3S, 3L, 3S, 3S. Bombardier, once per turn, one of the ship's cannons can shoot again if it misses. I don't know about this. I mean, if you could apply that cannoneer to its bombardier cannon, that makes it somewhat useful. But low cargo, slower speed, and average cannons are not a good combination for any ship. Especially for bombardiers like this. I mean, it's the exact same point cost as the concurrent. So if you had both, I don't know why you would choose this over the concurrent.
Yeah. I think this is actually...
You have 1,000,000 points, and you can have both.
All right.
At 1,000,000 points, I'd still have neither.
Yeah. I think this is actually one of the worst 3-masted ships in the whole game, I would say.
Oh, definitely. I agree. Mm-hmm. These are pretty bad.
I don't know. I think the ship you hate most, Ben, I think might be take the cake for that one.
Yeah, I don't know about that. We'll see.
You can at least excuse it statistically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know why they priced it like that. I think I talked about it in a thread this year or last year, but if I don't know what I know, just to repeat the point, I don't know what they were thinking when they look at it, if they're just insane or maybe somebody created it without knowing the rules or something. It doesn't make any sense, or it's like a typo, they carried over the cost because this is the following ship or something. I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Or they made they got it reversed, and this is supposed to be 12 points as opposed to 21.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, got it mixed up.
I will say this for I could see this at 12 points.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can too.
Points, this would be
fan retcon
and maybe usable.
Yeah,
maybe. But the other thing I found fun that you can do with bombardier ship types is you can use them to make low slung hoists. You take out the cannon bit and put the claw arm there. It's it'll fit. Hoists are 3 masts, and hoists are far more useful.
Oh yeah,
and this is a cool way to get one that's different looking, as opposed to that gigantic curly bow at the front.
That's a
good
way to
part about that is that you have to have a spare hoist for that, and they're still kind of in demand and at times hard to find.
Yeah. That's one way to get the F2 actually, because it's a French ship, so it might have a similar paint scheme in a way. Blue and white.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Could be.
Well, I've got a spare Mally's fish hook.
Yeah.
Hey, shiny arm.
I'll take it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you have a spare? Do you have a spare concurrent or Grand Vainqueur?
No.
Well, darn. Because then you could have made the F2.
Yeah. All right. So.
So I guess better ship overall.
Although F2 have to start talking about the flotillas.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
Flotilla.
So the first flotilla is the Widowmaker. So this is a rare pirate flotilla. 6 points, no cargo. T is the base move, so you have to tow it, of course. And then all the cannons are 4S, but they get extended range. So basically 4SS in a way, however you want to express it. This one, I don't know, it's just kind of, it's pretty lame actually for a flotilla. Almost all the flotillas have better cannon ranks, and a lot of them, or a few of them, have better ranges. So even though it's really cheap, I don't really like using this one. The Doombox is more accurate for just a point more. That one was all 3SS, and as a result, Widowmaker is pretty lame actually, and that's coming from somebody who likes flotillas a lot.
Yeah, even though this is the cheapest one, its armament is by far the worst. So, I mean, while you can excuse rank 4 guns on stuff like, I think it's Silver Coffin, which is all 4 Ls. This is not much better than having 4 Ls without extended range. This is a pretty solidly mediocre flotilla, and not one that I think I'll ever use.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Anyone else?
Yeah, no. Pretty vanilla.
Pretty well.
It's not even vanilla. It's just not even flavored.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's true. That's true.
It's a mosquito.
It's really not that good.
Yeah. The only attractive thing about this is the point cost to 6. Because every other flotilla is like, starts at 7 and goes up.
Yeah.
So if you're one of those people who was like, I must be as cheap as possible, this is for you. But,
assuming you want a flotilla.
Yeah. Assuming you want to. I mean, 6 points, I could get a captain, a helmsman, and an oarsman for that.
Mm-hmm.
For, a ship.
But can you get 4 4S guns for that?
No.
That's a good point. I mean, it is extra cannons, and that's what flotillas really are, is it's extra cannons you can tow around with you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. I think Armada is the next one, and change of pace, this one's actually good. Armada is Spanish and is 9 points. You get 3S guns instead of 4S, and because of the extended range keyword, they amount to 3SS. When the ship hits an enemy ship, you may also eliminate 1 cargo from that ship. So
I like this.
The gun ranks themselves aren't anything special. They're not terrible, but the ability is magnificent. And this is a good one to tow behind some fast Gold Runner or one of Spain's faster gunships. I like to put this behind La Monarca as a deterrent.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And this is one you can put. You could put Master Bianco from Spanish Main to get a crew on, and then put like a world hater like Del Nero from
you can too.
Barbary Coast.
Yeah.
And then for 16, I guess 16, you'd have 2 SS guns that eliminate cargo on every hit. So tow it behind, a fast ship, maybe even a gunship. I know I've used El Rosal in a fleet before. Kind of an underrated ship. El Serviente would be good, or La Serviente. So yeah, this one's excellent, even though it's pretty pricey for a flotilla.
Yeah, this was actually my first flotilla that I ever pulled.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
It's a pretty good one. I like it. It's the ability can hit both crew and treasure, so there's that. It's kind of a step up from the next one, the tower, which I'm pretty sure is mine, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's just move on to there then. So we've got the tower, the English flotilla in the set. So points for that. England, my favorite faction. It's 9 points. Of course, no cargo space, base move T. That's typical of all flotillas. Its cannons are slightly better than that of the Armada, with 2S, 3S, 3S, and 2S. And of course, it's a flotilla with extended range. They all have that. And then once per turn, when this ship hits an enemy ship, it'll also eliminate 1 crew from that ship. So, if you're going to be using a flotilla, a choice between the Armada and the tower is probably going to come down to which faction you're in. Because either you've got better guns and a less wide hitting ability, or you have slightly worse guns and a more umbrella, more covering ability.
Yeah. Yeah, the English are my favorite faction. Sometimes I find the cargo wrecking to be slightly kind of like overkill almost. Sometimes you don't always need it. And then with tower, my cannon rolls are usually pretty bad, so I'd like to have those 2S cannons to make sure I get some hits rather than going 0 for 4 or 1 for 4 with Armada. Rather go 2 for 4 with tower than 1 for 4 or 0 for 4 with Armada for the most part. So they are similar though, and yeah, it's just a toss up. So both are very good.
Yeah.
That's what I'd say. Yep.
I prefer Armada because if you are going to spend 9 points on a flotilla, which is kind of sacrificing the utility of cheap firepower, you might as well pour some more into it and get something really good out of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's my rationale.
Yeah. Well, the other thing I'd like to point out is with eliminating cargo or a crew, it's always going to be the defending player that chooses anyway. So, while you do have a bit broader spectrum of things you can hit, it's still not your choice what actually goes. So it's going to come down to if they want to lose a crew or a treasure.
Yeah.
But it's all about making them make that choice, not necessarily.
That is true too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
All right. So who is Mont Blanc for?
I believe that's me.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So Mont Blanc, French flotilla, huzzah! 9 points, no cargo, base move T. Same cannon spread as the tower. Extended range, all flotillas got it. And when this ship hits another ship, you choose which mast is eliminated. It's kind of vanilla.
Yeah.
Again.
All of the flotillas here in Fire and Steel, well, except the Widowmaker, they're all 9 points. And really the only one I could see actually being 9 is the Armada. I mean, you could probably get away with the tower for 8 points. And you could probably get away with Mont Blanc at 7, maybe. Because I don't know about you, but I don't really find that ability helpful.
Yeah.
Because if I usually am accurate with cannons on flotillas, so if I'm shooting at something and I hit 4 times, odds are whatever I'm shooting at will not still be floating. Or will, like, only have 1 mast left. So it's like, all right, now which mast do you want to still have?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think this one is definitely not as good as the previous two.
Mm-hmm.
The French, it is the only French flotilla, so they're overjoyed to get one in the first place. But that being said, it doesn't measure up to any of the Spanish or English ones. All 4 of those are better than the French one.
No, it doesn't.
Yep.
Yeah, and this one, the artwork doesn't look like it was designed by a crazy dude. Because, the Tower, the Armada, and even the Widowmaker to an extent, their artwork is kind of nuts. Yeah. Especially on the tower. It's like, okay, we get it. You're English.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Mont Blanc is just Blanc.
Yeah, exactly.
Mont Blanc is fitting flavor text, though. Not really suited to the French Corsair fighting style. And you can just end it there. It's too expensive. This ability, I think, is more useful on small ships and things with not many guns. This has 4 guns. It's probably at its best on, say, a 2-master.
Yeah.
Otherwise, this thing's too expensive.
Yeah. All right.
I guess we can move into...
Yeah, we're talking about crew.
Hang on.
Yeah.
Real quick, if you want to just kind of finish that flavor text, it says the Mont Blanc is used more for port protection than actual battle. That's probably how I'd use the Mont Blanc, is just kind of set it in front of my... my home island, if I know my opponent has a home island raider, and use it that way. But otherwise, it's don't even matter.
That's a good use.
Now.
All right.
Yep.
Cool.
Into the crew.
So we're into the crew now, and the first one is Sammy the Skull, who's a rare cursed crew.
Oh boy.
6 points, loyal to the cursed, captain, and fear. So 3 keywords, and a link to all cursed ships, which makes him pretty versatile. The other version of Sammy the Skull from Davy Jones' Curse is 6 points as well, captain and +1 to boarding rolls, with a link to White Crew. So, I don't know, I try to use some of these in my cursed fleets. I think they're both decent, but neither one is like fantastic as named captains go. The curse will still take it though, because they don't really have a lot of great named crew in general. I would say this one is maybe, I think fear is even more useless than the +1 to boarding, but the link is better. So it's kind of just a toss up based on what strategy you're going for and what ship you're using it with, him with.
Yeah, I think both of them are pretty good for the Cursed, not necessarily in the grand scheme of the game. This version, yeah, Fear's not great, but the argument of the ability to link it to any Cursed ships and thus not take up cargo space, I think is kind of compelling because most of their ships have very little cargo space to begin with. So you do want something that won't take up much space. That said, I would still consider using the Davy Jones Curse version most of the time.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Fear's a pretty overrated keyword.
It was always too expensive. Yeah.
I use this one more than the Davy Jones Curse one. Mainly because I got this one first before I got the other one, but I like that link. Mainly because a lot of Curse ships don't have a whole lot of cargo space. Especially some of their, slightly better gunships. It's like, okay, I got 3 cargo. Okay, captain, helmsman, and I kind of want to put, 1 or 2 other things on there. With him, what you're able to do is you're able to, since he links and therefore doesn't take up cargo space, if on that same gunship that only has 3 cargo space, now you've got, your captain taken care of, so it's only a helmsman, and you've got room for those other extra things. One combo I like to do with him is to put him onto the Hades realm. Turn that into a little bit of a hybrid almost.
Yeah, that's a good one. Nice.
Yeah.
I also find his flavor text slightly triggering because we knew who he was in Davy Jones' Curse. His name was Sam Scullo.
Yeah.
So I was like, who Sammy was in life is not known. Lies. We knew who he was. It says so. But I'll take it. There it is.
Well, I think the who here is not necessarily his name, but like who was this guy? Was he a butcher? Was he a pirate?
That's too in the Davy Jones Curse flavor text.
Yeah, okay. But on another note, Sammy makes a great villain for a role playing game. My players haven't met him yet, but they've seen his work.
Nice.
Yeah, he left the captain of a sinking ship crucified to the mast.
Cool.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah.
Creative ways to kill people. Let's go.
Yes.
Speaking of creative ways to kill people, I'm going to use a really painful, outdated cultural reference to segue in the next crew. Stop. Hammersmith, which is a 5-point pirate crew. One of their best ever released, I would say. He has Hostile England, Helmsman, and Captain. I have always thought that these combined Helmsman Captain crew are great because they allow you to save space on dreadnoughts or turn ships that are otherwise not hybrids into hybrids. So my thought is Hammersmith is crucial for people who like to play the pirates and absolutely worth getting your hands on.
Yeah, you could argue he's one of the best named crew in the whole game. Definitely.
Yeah.
Perfect for hybrids, and the pirates have a lot of hybrids, or at least potential hybrids. So
definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's fantastic. Cool.
I think that's all we have to say about him.
That's really all you need. I mean, he's got Hostile England, but that's really not much of a problem.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice.
I think for you, Vendari, you get to talk about Captain Mission, or Mission.
Mission. Yeah, so he's a pirate. Worth 3 points. He's loyal pirates. I mean, honestly, loyalty on crew, just doesn't make sense because most of the time it's going to be on a ship with the same nation anyway. But when this ship hits an enemy ship on a 6, the controller eliminates an extra mast, and on a 1, eliminate a mast from this ship. So that's a pretty interesting ability. You can you have the potential to deal some extra damage in exchange for potentially losing your own masts. Yeah, that's really all I have to say about that.
Yeah.
I would want to combine this with a World Hater. You spend a lot more, but then it becomes a much more powerful ability because then more or less on a 5 or a 6, you get to destroy 2 masts and you lose out on losing any masts, I think.
No, it still counts as 1. I remember Wolf clarified that. Yeah. That's part of the reason this
Yeah.
ability is tough to use effectively, especially on a crew, because then you're spending points and a cargo space on it. I could see this at 2 points. I mean, it sounds kind of good, but unless your luck is like supreme, I don't really see much point in trying it. So, and of course, I'm kind of biased, but not only is it a tough ability to use, but the other versions of Mission are quite good. So there's not a lot of reason to use this version.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't use this version of Mission. I'd probably either use the Rise of the Fiends super rare, or the Mysterious Islands one. Not this one.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right.
On to Barstow.
Ooh, is that me?
Yep.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's you.
Goody. All right, Barstow. 8-point pirate crew. Explorer. If this ship wins a boarding party, she can capture the crew at the highest point cost instead of eliminating it. A captured crew becomes cargo worth its point cost in gold when unloaded at your home island. This is one of my favorite abilities ever. I like to use this ability as often as I can because it's just so much fun to, like, board someone, win the board, and then take their highest point crew, and then watch the other person, like, rage.
Oh, God.
Yeah, especially when they have a hot... Oh, continue.
Now, he links to the aforementioned Foresight, and between him and Bonnie Peel, the two pirate crew who had this ability, and I guess Blackbeard later on, it's a toss-up between him and Bonnie Peel which one I'd use.
Bonnie
if I
Peel's
use
a captain, right?
Yeah, but she still costs 8 points.
Yeah, that's the thing. Captain's a 3-point ability. Explorer's a 1-point ability.
Yep.
Yeah, but Barstow with Explorer, he's better suited for gold games, I guess you could say. Especially on Foresight, as we mentioned that combo earlier.
Yeah, exactly. That's part of the reason I like the link, is the Foresight is kind of made out to be a hybrid. So Barstow, the link actually works quite well overall, and it's a durable ship that has a lot of mass, so then you're more likely to win boarding parties. That being said, I think Barstow is kind of one of the more poor gold capture crew because of the other ones, especially Bonnie Peel. Most of the other ones are better, and a lot of times you'll still want the captain ability even if it's at 10, like on Blackbeard, for example, because you're probably going to use this on a ship that's more in combat. But that being said, Barstow is one of the more unique named crew in the game, and kind of an enigma, really. I find him quite interesting, but maybe not as practical as I want him to be. So, and I think gold capture at 5, like it is on Bonnie Peel, I think that works pretty well. So Barstow at 6 would be even more viable. Even for 40-point games, he would become kind of viable.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'd probably use him.
Yeah, 8's just kind of a lot to invest in a named crew in, like, games under, 80 points or whatever. For the most part. Alright. I guess I'll move on. So, Victor de Alva is the next crew. Spanish rare, 8 points. He's got Loyal Spain, Captain, and then EA. So, once per turn, roll a d6. On a 5 or 6, the ship can be given an extra action with a link to the San Cristobal, which you won't find in this set, but she had 2 versions from Rise of the Fiends, both of which are 2 of the best 5 masters in the game, which you can see on the other set review podcast. And Victor de Alva is a wicked good crew. The only crew in the game that combines these ability on a named crew in this exact like formation. So it's really, really great. And the link to San Cristobal just puts it over the top because that's an amazing hybrid. And EA is great on a hybrid ship or a gunship in general. So he's not only one of the better Spanish named crew, he's one of the best named crew in the game overall, and far better than his other version. So amazing.
Oh, much better. I need to get a copy of this one. I don't have him yet.
Yeah.
Oh. Is this one of the only crew in the game that's linked to a ship not from its set?
Yeah, there's not many.
I think there are a couple, but not many. This is definitely the primary example of that.
Yeah.
But I can't think of any others off the top of my head, though.
Well, if the wording is the same, you could link Jack Hawkins to at least 3 or 4 different ships.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's like the only thing I could think of is like, a different version of that crew, but the spelling is still the same.
Yeah.
So, case in point, Thomas Gunn. You could link him on the Apollo. You could link him to the Rise of the Fiends one, or to the one here.
Yep.
Or the one in Revolution.
You mean
There's
Spanish?
the one in Revolution.
There's an HMS Apollo in Revolution.
Oh, yeah.
It's a two-mast schooner, and it's garbage compared to like
it's not
the
that
5-mast. But you can still link him to that HMS Apollo because it's HMS Apollo.
Well, I will.
You won't.
Yes, I will.
Not if you want to win.
Yes, I will.
Okay, which version?
Not if I don't want to be banned from miniature trading.
Which version? That's important. Which version? Are you talking about the next one up, or are you talking about the Captain Helmsman?
Probably Captain.
Uh,
I would not use the next version on that Apollo.
No,
Maybe
that's the
on
plan.
Why would you do that?
Why wouldn't you?
Oy.
God, Mason,
Yeah.
if you do that, you have to use the Grand Vanqueur as well. So
I will link everything to the Grand Vanqueur.
Oh my.
Well, this discussion is a great segue into the next crew, which is Thomas Gunn.
yeah.
Mhm.
Huzzah!
All
Yeah,
right.
we're having too much fun with Thomas Gunn, who in this case is 9 points. He's an English crew. He's loyal England, which is a useless keyword. He's a captain, and once per turn, you may give any ship in your fleet +1 to all of your cannon rolls, linked to HMS Apollo. And this is kind of a strange one because he's a captain, and he's got an ability that sure comes in at 6 points, bit like a better version of World Hater, but not faction sensitive, and you can throw it around as needed. Probably no good in small games, but fantastic in big games.
Exactly.
Oh, most definitely fantastic at big games.
Yep. Yeah, he's great as like an admiral crew to command your whole fleet and then just give out a bonus. You could use it. It's any ship, not just English. So if you've got any 10 masters, you could apply it to them. HMS Dreadnought with extra cannons, something like that would be devastating. So yeah, there's a lot of great ones. And of course, the English are, in my opinion, generally the best fighting faction in the game. So they have no shortage of amazing gunships to use this on. So yeah, fantastic in big games and pretty much it.
Yeah, especially since you can stack his ability with a regular World Hater.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. All right. So
the next one.
Yep.
Yeah, I think so.
Before we go off
Lord
Thomas Gunn,
Right.
his artwork. Okay, the artwork for this version of Thomas Gunn, I don't know why, but it reminds me of Daryl from The Walking Dead.
He's so emo.
Well, no, it's just like, the hair coming down the side. It looks like he has like a mustache or something.
Huh.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He looks like he smells
Anyone
meth.
else? Like,
He looks battle-worn.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that too.
I could see a tiny bit of Aragorn, a tiny bit, not a lot.
I can see it too, actually.
Okay, he does
I can
kind of look
see
like
it.
him from Lord of the Rings.
All right, I'm changing this version's name to Aragorn now.
Well, I call him Daryl
Whenever I use him, I will call him Aragorn.
Then you can't link to the Apollo.
I can still link to the Apollo. It's just a nickname.
Nah.
So when can we expect a Lord of the Rings custom set from you,
Oh,
Wendari?
God. Oh, here
Okay,
we go.
that's
Lord of the
not
Rings
gonna
Customs.
happen.
Hey. Lord of the Rings Customs, that's what JW is working on next.
Oh,
my
my
no.
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't like this. So wait, is he going to work on Splatoon customs next?
No, because we don't play video games.
It's Harry Potter.
That's probably a good thing. Oh, no,
I'll do a Fallout themed set. Let's do that.
Oh, no.
God, Mason, the one thing that you can take to heart with all that is that as tough as it's going to be to restart the game in terms of WizKids, imagine if you tried to do a set based on another franchise. That would be even worse.
Oh,
It'd be impossible. Like Lord of the
Oh,
Rings,
yeah.
that'd be a nightmare.
I mean,
So
isn't that why WizKids got in trouble? It was because of the Pirates of the Caribbean set?
No, that was licensed.
yeah, that was,
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, but certain crew like Jack Hawkins had disappeared because he kind of looked like Jack Sparrow.
Well, he
Right.
kind of was Jack Sparrow.
yeah,
yeah,
but-
Jack Sparrow.
yeah. Wolf, I think Wolf said with the Ocean's Edge set, it kind of looked like they were trying to get it as close to like Dead Man's Chest as possible without
were.
actually infringing on it.
They were.
Probably totally were.
Mm-hmm. Ocean's Edge, World's End. Lord Micron.
That's my turn.
Yeah.
So we have an English crew. 6 points, rare, Loyal England, of course. Instead of giving this ship an action this turn, you can give another ship in your fleet 2 actions. So Micron is pretty fun to use. Throw him on a 6-point ship that stays home, and something else in your fleet gets 2 actions every turn. HMS Endeavor.
I'd use them to speed up the Dreadnought, man.
There's that too.
Yeah.
Micron has...
Master. Yeah.
Honestly, Micron has so many applications that we can dedicate basically like 15 minutes
podcast.
To. Well, yeah, we do have an episode coming up where we talk about some of the most significant game-breaking pieces ever released. Yeah. Micron's on that list. I think we could probably go through that in the future. I think it can be summed up as Micron breaks everything and was a mistake to release at all, no matter what point cost.
Yeah, and it's even more crazy because you can get him for 10 points total with Patagonia plus Robinson. So you don't even have to go to 12 points to get the full combo working. So it's crazy. It's viable even in small games, as some of the fleets like High Tank Port Frenzy have proven in play. So, really OP.
Yep, I think we can skip on to Capitaine Arazur then.
Yes.
Yep.
All right then, so that's me?
Yep.
All right, Capitaine Arazur. Loyal, France. Hostile, England. If this ship succeeds at a boarding party, choose 2 of the following. Eliminate a crew, take a treasure, or eliminate a mast. And you get all this for the magnificent point cost of 5.
Use this crew, I think.
I am not fond of that ability on a crew. I mean, I'd rather use, even though it's overpriced, I'd rather use the SAT Captain version of him.
Me too. Yeah, it's way better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, this ability doesn't really impress me because you're going to take a treasure or eliminate a crew anyway. So, I mean, eliminate a mast is nice, but if you're going to do that with ramming and shooting, it's not that huge of a benefit. So, I think this could be a lot cheaper.
Well, the bonus to this is it puts the ball in your court as far as choice goes, because normally when you win a boarding party, it's your opponent who chooses to eliminate a crew or give you a treasure, and then they get to choose which of that type they're going to give you. But this, you actually get to say, okay, I win this boarding party, you're losing a crew and giving me a treasure, or you're losing a crew and a mast, etc.
Well, I think he might be a little better if he didn't have the eliminate a mast ability, because whenever I board something and I'm not escorting it, I always try to shoot it to death and then ram it, so it's already derelict, so I'm guaranteed to win pretty much, unless I'm boarding with a 1-master and the thing is a derelict 5 that rolls a 6 or something.
You're probably right about that, but I'd say Arazur, this version of him is slightly redeemed by the fact that the French have a trillion S-boarders. So, they do. They have something like 7 of them. Yeah, even though they're like the 2nd or 3rd smallest of the main 6 factions.
Yeah, just among crew, they've got 4.
Yeah, no, 4, I think, that are captain S-boarders or something, 2 of which are in this set. Speaking of which...
That one's next. Yep. Jordan is the next crew, and it's a rare 7-point French crew. Loyal France captain, and as part of a move action, she can initiate a boarding party against a ship up to S away from her without having to ram. Boarded ships can't use any boarding bonuses, so S-boarding with captain, and a link to Neptune, which is a solid link because it has +1 to boarding, and it's a large ship, so that's a solid combo, honestly. You're not going to be able to turn it into a hybrid with the link, but it's still a good link. That being said, S-boarding is kind of just a risky strategy. I usually use it on 10 masters and with Captain Nemo or Gold Capture crew, kind of like big monster super setups. So on a generic 5-master, I'd rather have World Hater for 4 points or Captain with Helmsman, with Cannoneer, stuff like that. So it's a decent crew, but one they didn't really need, and one that's a little bit overpriced for the what you're getting.
Mm-hmm. If I'm remembering the rule correctly from the Pirate Code, with the boarded ship can't use any boarding bonuses. I'm just going to kind of go back to what God Mason was saying about Capitan Arazur. You can't. I don't believe you can use Arazur with an S board captain. because it's a boarding bonus.
Unless the ship that gets boarded, you can't use any boarding bonuses.
No, I'm pretty sure that. I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah, the boarded ship. Oh, you're right. I misread that. My bad.
No, I thought I heard something of the sort, that there is a limitation to this ability, and S-board might not apply. Maybe it's, I don't quite remember, but there's something strange with how boarding abilities interact, where this does not always mesh with other abilities.
Right.
I don't remember the specifics. Wolf, if you're listening to this, please make a forum post.
Yes, please do
It just says, I have the pirate code up, it says if this ship carries a captain, this ability must be applied before shooting. So sometimes that's what it is. A little bit. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's what it is.
Oh yeah, because it says it's part of a move action.
Yeah, well, therefore, as part of a move action, a ship up to SOA, it doesn't specify that it has to be only one ship, I think.
Right.
So I think you could, S-board, as many ships with an S as possible, unless, I'm, missing something about this.
Oh, well, A is singular, so...
Yeah, I think it's just
I'm assuming it means one.
Yeah, I don't see anything in the code right now, I don't think, but I think it's just one. I don't think it's like Switchblade.
Too bad. That's okay, though. You could put this on a Switchblade and then have fun with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
But, one thing I would like to add is that it doesn't say you can't ram board and still board something else up to SOA.
Yeah, you can do that.
I think that's
because you can do that, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the two boarding parties you could do. The S1 and then the one where you shoot at the ship.
Yeah.
Now, is it possible to ram a ship or to board a ship and then do the ram and then board it again?
In theory, I think it is.
Yeah. You can S-board before you make contact, so you could try that, yeah.
If you're allowed to combine Erzur and this S-board and stuff, then you're able to double dip on his ability, which I think comes closer to making it worthwhile.
That might be.
I think you can.
Wolf, we're gonna need some input on this.
Yeah, I'm sure Ben is scrolling through the rules right now, going.
Yeah, it says the board. No, it kind of applies to what we talked about earlier. So the number of mass remaining on ship is not considered a bonus. This ability only prevents these abilities add +1, and those that provide an additional effect. But that's for the boarded ship, so you should be able to use this.
Right.
Fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the target that you're boarding from SOA.
The target couldn't use it, but you still can. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
All right. So that's still. I don't know if that makes ours completely worthwhile.
Yeah. It's still
I'd rather have that just built into a ship.
It doesn't need to be completely worthwhile. You can come up with a gimmick fleet.
There you go.
Well,
I could say that about anything.
I think I'd probably put him on the Gowl or the Charlemagne.
All right.
Those are good ships to have for that ability.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right.
Yeah. So I have to type something in. I'm
sorry.
making myself a reminder to Charlemagne. I'm making myself a reminder to look into these combos later. Anyway. Yeah. Anyway, the next one up, lucky me, I got to read off this version of Montana Maze, who is 7 points, and he's Loyal America captain. This ship can't be eliminated, or this ship's crew can't be eliminated unless she sinks, linked to USS Concordia. I was originally talking about using her Ocean's Edge for Montana Maze Ocean's Edge version, but this has two of the abilities that I think are more valuable, and he's still linked. The important thing about this version of Montana Maze is that because he is linked to the Concordia, I'm going to scroll back up to check the cargo space on it.
Yeah, it's
got 4.
Yeah.
4? Okay, so the really important thing here is you now have, or you still have 4 spaces remaining. If you have a cargo master in play, you have 5. Which means of all the really powerful abilities like Albert Crenshaw, World Hater, Eternal, be it from Ralph David or whoever,
Schultz, the other option, I think.
Yeah. You'd probably want to go with Ralph David because he's cheaper, and you're going to be pushing the limits of what the ship can hold. You can look at Crenshaw, World Hater, Chancellor, Musketeer, or of course Ralph David himself. You can basically fit on as much as her point cost allows, and Concordia is probably an untapped dreadnought of sorts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see how this would be useful. I really like how this is an actually useful link, too.
Mm-hmm.
I would still use the Ocean's Edge version because it does all this. It's not Captain, but it has same action twice, which I find to be a better combination. He'll still link. You can still link the Ocean's Edge Montana to the Concordia.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can bring on Jonathan Harridan so you don't get redundant abilities. You get Captain and Reroll and Harridan for 6 points, and then you got Maze for 7 points, same action twice, and crew protection. So that's the combo right there.
Yeah.
That is a pretty good one.
Go.
Yeah, they both work really well.
Yeah. It's frustrating. The Americans have 2 or 3 repeat versions of crew, mainly Maze, and they all do some variation of the same thing.
Yeah, and they're all really good, so you're not supposed to use them in the same game. Yeah, it's frustrating.
Yeah.
I wish they just had different characters or something. They would make the Americans better.
Even some of the different characters have repeat abilities. I mean, I think the Americans have more crew with Maze's ability here. This ship's crew can't be limited unless she sinks.
Yeah.
They've got that on I think 2 or 3 other crew.
Yeah.
In addition to Maze here.
Yeah.
So it's a little nuts, and some of them are slightly different enough to where you could potentially put them together, but you'd have 2 or 3 redundant abilities.
Yeah, I know.
So it's frustrating.
Yeah. All right.
So this version is cool. He's great. But, it's a toss-up between do you want the Captain built in, or do you want the sim action twice built in?
Yeah, that comes down to personal preference.
Yeah, it does.
What doesn't come down to personal preference, well, actually it does, is the next ship on our list, which I think is for Vendari.
Yep.
Yes, it is. We've got the Sea Hag, a 4-mast cursed schooner. She's uncommon. For 15 points, you're getting 3 cargo space, base move of L, 4 cannons that are all 3S range, and if she ends her turn in a fog bank, on her next turn, she can use her move action to move out of any other fog bank in play. So this is a pretty fun ability. Being able to jump around the board if you have a lot of fog in play. Depending on how much terrain you tend to like to play with, I would definitely be throwing in a lot of fog banks here.
Yeah. This Sea Hag is significant because she's a fog hopper. I kind of like her art as well.
Oh, yeah.
But the problem is fog hopping is kind of a flawed ability because most of the fog hoppers are statistically pretty weak ships, and Sea Hag is no different. Her guns are not very good for her price, nor is her cargo space, nor is her base move. And because she's cursed, she doesn't have a lot of crew options to fix that. She's not super great. She's usable. And if you're desperate, you can probably figure out some way to use a smoke pot specialist to bug out if you have an engagement you don't think you can win.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, wait. Can you do that? Because smoke pots disappear after 1 turn, don't they?
Yeah, you'd have to get another ship or use reverse captain.
You need a shoot move captain.
Well, wait. The Curse do have a reverse captain on it.
El Phantasma.
Yep.
Yeah, but would you want to use him on the Sea Hag?
Probably not.
I wouldn't use that version of Phantasma ever. Even if it's the only Curse piece that has world hating built into it.
Yeah.
I'd never use that one.
Well, actually, I'm going to have to look into that now. Oh, wait, which set was that version of Phantasma from?
Davy Jones Cursed. The second time he showed up as Cursed.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And even his super rare from South China Seas is more viable to the Cursed than that one.
Yeah.
I like to always have a helmsman on my gunship, so with that version, with smoke pot specialist and captain, that would be 15 points, so you wouldn't be able to have a helmsman as well, so kind of flawed.
Yeah.
I would say the Sea Hag kind of stands out as like a flagship of like the fog-hopping squadrons that Xerxes and I have seen in campaign games, but that being said, as a flagship, she's still pretty lackluster, like all the fog hoppers, or almost all of them, so for the gimmick strategy, it's one of the better fog hoppers, but of course, she's still a very flawed and kind of mediocre ship. Without fog hopping, this would be wicked boring, and we'd be done talking already. So.
Yeah.
Wait, yeah, without the ability, I'd probably just read everything off and just say next.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of which, next is Rum Runner for Xerax. Yeah.
All right, the Rum Runner, we got a pirate ship. Huzzah, pirates. And for 13 points, you get 4 cargo spaces, base move of S+S, 4 4S cannons, and schooner and parlay. Next.
No,
Well, she's pretty.
I think it's interesting, though. I think Parley built into a ship is pretty intriguing.
Wait, hang on a second here.
Yeah, these are all 4L guns.
Yeah, okay, that changes things a little bit because
it does.
The artwork here is different.
Huh, that's
Hello?
Weird.
Still boring. 4L, 4S,
Not a super
It's
great.
4.
Yeah, it's not a super great ship, but it does have Parley built in.
Yeah.
It's reasonably durable. It's one of those weird ships that has 4L guns. It has a respectable base move. This is kind of a slow defensive gold runner. Not one I love, but one that I can at least kind of see the point of.
Yeah, I think it's
I can see the point of it. It doesn't mean I have to respect it.
all right.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I'm not fond of the parlay keyword in general.
Yeah, it's all right. I think it's kind of underrated and underused, but anyway, if those last two... What was
Sorry.
that?
I was going to say, I'd probably consider her if I were playing Just Curse C's game.
Yeah.
But she is pretty. I love the purple sails.
Yeah, it's a fair point.
All right, that is cool looking. That does look cool.
Purple.
I'll give it that.
Yeah, well,
I know what you're doing, Ben. Do it.
If the last two ships were a delight for me to look at, then the next one is not. The Delight is a 4-masted pirate schooner. It's 13 points, 3 cargo, L move. Cannons are 3S. Looks like the 3L might be the second cannon. But anyway, or no, it probably
you could swap it around because those masts are the same,
exactly.
I think.
Yeah.
And these are built wrong anyway, so don't look at the pictures too hard.
Gosh, yes. Looking at that third mast, ugh.
Yeah, this is bad.
I can't look at that anymore.
I know. I noticed it for the Rum Runner, and I was like, oh.
Somebody needs to start, taking ships from the post-war
building these
ships.
Darn things correctly.
Gosh, all of these pictures are terrible.
Yeah. They're all assembled wrong. Somebody needs to take pictures from the worst ships thread and just troll the database by updating with badly assembled stuff.
Wolf's gonna get on your case about that, I think. Anyway,
yeah, but that'd be funny.
So the cannons are 3S, 3S, 3L, 3S schooner, and this ship gets +1 cannon rolls against targets without all their masts. I think this one is wicked boring, and I don't like it at all. And I think it should be 9 or 10 points. That's it.
Next.
Yeah, agreed.
That's it. Next.
Yep.
Agreed. Sorry, just to interject real quick. I've just realized that we're probably going to be done with these reviews in August. Which is funny because that's the name of the next ship. Augusta is a Spanish 4-masted schooner, 12 points, 2 cargo, SL move, 4S guns on the end, 3S guns in the middle. Keywords schooner. Once per turn of the ship is it's got S Explorer. This is I'm adamant that S Explorer has some value, but Augusta does not have the cargo space to take advantage of it. She doesn't really move fast enough to make best use of it either.
I think the speed is good enough, but it's not a great ship.
Good.
Yeah, speed is quite good for 4-master.
It has. The problem is this is a ship with some potential. She has a good base move, and she has an ability that I think in the right situation is good. But the rest of her stats are just bad. She's too expensive. She's poorly armed. She's no cargo space. This is far too expensive to fit the support role she's supposedly cut out for.
Yeah, I think 8 or 9 points would be more, reasonable.
8 points, yeah.
Fair.
Yeah. This was Xerax and I both tried the S exploring strategy, and it doesn't really work, especially even in large games when you think it would work then. And both of us have experienced that it's even not that great, even in those games. So the jury is kind of out on this ability as very not good at all. I would say the Augusta actually had a little nice moment in Fast Little Campaign Game 1. The Spanish, she was kind of a hero ship. She managed to hit. She was a gunship for my Spanish in that game, and she managed to punch well above her weight or whatever. So kind of random, but that's about it.
I think the best thing I've done with an Augusta is turn it into a custom ship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, literally. I think I
there.
converted it into the Spanish battleship from Return of Davy Jones. I forget. I think it's like the Fuego or something. I don't know.
All right.
Yep.
Yeah, Vendor, you get to talk about a better one at least.
Yes,
Yes.
probably the best of these schooners that are in
Hands
this portion of the list.
Mhm.
Hands down, the best, and one of my first fire and steel ships actually.
Same
This
here.
is the Signet. She's an English schooner, 4-mast, of course, uncommon. 12 points, 2 cargo space, S+S base move. Her cannons are 2S, followed by 3S cannons. And long-range cannons cannot hit the ship. So she's a pretty good ship. Definitely better than the previous 4 we just read. I wouldn't say better combined, but she's still pretty darn good. With only 2 cargo space, you can't do too much with her, but that's a pretty good defensive ability she's got there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's a kind of a strange and unique English gunship, and I wrote a review of her actually, going into detail on different setups and whatnot. It's kind of surprising how much you can do with her with some of the linked crew and whatnot, like Hermione Gold and Trevor Van Tyne from Rise of the
Oh
Fiends.
goodness,
Is a good
I love
one.
that combo.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
decent. Yeah, it's a solid one, and I think El Cazador actually mentioned that to me for me to put that in the review, so I have to give him credit there. But overall, despite the low cargo and the cannons being mostly average, I think she's bailed out by the 2S and then the SS move and then the solid defensive ability. So, and it's also kind of a cool looking ship, like bone white.
Yeah.
Is this the only ship of its size with this ability? I think it is, but I'm not sure.
I think it is. Yeah.
Sounds right. Yeah.
Because there are 2 ships, Le Bonaparte and I think Nubian Prince, that have the one where you can't shoot them within S range.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think this is the only one of its size with this ability.
Yeah.
It's not as powerful, but it's still a very unique ship and actually quite a respectable one.
Yeah.
Unlike the next one. Care to take this one, Xerax? I'm sorry about this one.
Before I do, I'll mention one last thing about the Signet, and I think Ben covered it in his review.
Yeah.
If you go with Hermione Gold and Van Tyne, you'll have enough, I think, point space left over to toss on the English Chancellor.
Yeah.
So if you do that, you would not be able to hit this ship at all, because you'd have to be outside of S, which means you'd have to try to use L range, but L range cannons can't hit it.
Well, no,
so therefore, the only way to get out is an
the,
extended S range cannon.
this does not have that can't shoot within S ability, so you could still shoot it with S range guns.
No, if the Chancellor's on it, but you get with an S, you get canceled, your captain's gone.
Yeah, you need a Chancellor or wait it out. Yeah, one of the 2.
Yeah, or you snipe from like S+S or further.
Then you just move away and boom, you're good.
Just ram it.
Or come after it with, you have to double team it, 2 ships or whatever, 3 ships.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so right, this thing can be quite annoying.
Yeah.
Unlike this, the Colonial Trader, American, 4 mass, 14 points, 3 cargo space, base move L, 4 4S cannons, schooner. If this ship carries no crew, she gets +2 cargo capacity. Blech.
Yeah.
This
one.
If this ship carries no crew, she gets +S to her base move. This might be a usable ship. Instead,
not even then, no.
Nah, only 9
maybe.
points, maybe.
Yeah. I think God Mason, you wrote a reasonably accurate review about this. So go find that, and that has all our opinions in it, pretty much.
Yeah, I'm actually going to bring up my review really quick. I think I gave this ship like a 2 or a 3 out of 10. She's, you think to yourself, this has like 5 cargo space, doesn't it? No, it definitely doesn't. Here, hold on. Where's Colonial? There we go. Yeah, review is called Brazenly Bad. What was the score I gave it? 3 out of 10. And my suggestion was to fix her, give her 7 base cargo and keep everything else the exact same. I know that sounds extreme, but then you can at least kind of set her up how you want. You could keep this ability, and then you'd have a really slow ship with 9 open cargo, but you're only moving L. And if you had a cargo master in play, you would have 10, but that paints a target on your back. So I think Colonial Trader, if she had 7 base cargo, would have some really interesting gameplay. As is, she's utterly terrible, and nobody will use her.
Yeah. Like I said for the Augusta, I think the best thing I did with the Colonial Trader was turn it into the USS Venture.
Yeah, that sounds great.
The best thing I did with Colonial Trader was not assemble her. Wait, yes, I did.
All right. So if you wouldn't try to steal from a ship to pillage the Colonial Trader, and you wouldn't pillage the next ship either. So the Pillage is a pirate 2-masted blockade runner ship type, 7 points, 2 cargo, L move. Both cannons are 3S. Once per turn, the ship can move S after unloading cargo, but the problem is we're not going to use it as a cargo ship because there's not much, and you're not fast enough to be a gold runner, especially when you got stuff like the Bloody Jewel and Bonnie Liz out there. So this one is really mediocre. The ability is not fitting at all, and you could try to use it as a gunship, but even then, the pirates have way better options. So this is not only bad, but it's also boring and just really a mistake.
Watch someone use this for your fleet challenge.
Yeah.
They automatically lose. It's like, no.
Right.
Yeah.
The other thing about this ship is the printing on it is bad too. The zebra sail is pixelated.
Really?
Yeah.
Pixelated ships. Well, you know what dazzle camouflage is, right? That's the idea.
In the edge of sail.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
no, seriously, like you can see each individual pixel on the mizzen sail.
Huh. Weird.
Well, in this case, I think Pillage was designed to blend in with the African desert. The zebra sail, because you'd rather run the ship aground. Yeah.
Right. But what I'm saying is the quality of the actual image file was not very good.
Yeah. I'll have to check out that if I have a copy of Pillage somewhere.
I don't, so I cannot verify. Someone else, please do.
Lucky you.
Yeah.
You don't know.
I said I don't.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, I get it.
But
give me a second. I'll go find my copy real quick.
All right.
Cool.
I was gonna say though, I do like at least sort of the chocolate vanilla paint scheme on it. But I do wish it had some strawberry. What's the name of the ice cream with all 3 of the flavors? Ben knows where I'm going. This is a really horrible segue into Napolitana, which doesn't even quite rhyme with Neapolitan. Anyway, Napolitana is a Spanish blockade runner, 10 points, 2 masts, 3 cargo, S move, both guns are 3L. If the ship has a crew with a captain keyword, she gets plus L to her base move. So in theory, you can throw a captain and a helmsman on this and be moving S plus L plus S. And have 2 3L guns, and you're paying 15 points for that. That's encroaching on Cristobal territory for a fraction of the firepower. Too expensive.
A fraction of the size, too.
I know. I would say this is probably I want to say the ship is worth like 5 points. Maybe.
I think she's a little bit underrated as like a really fast Spanish support gunship. I think with the right crew, I think she's actually decent, but I could see her at like 7. I think that would be fair. And then you still have a cargo space open for fire shot or a coin, something like that. So I think it's okay.
Yeah.
Just a little bit overpriced. It's way better than Pillage.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I agree. Much better than Pillage.
Yeah.
So are her masts that pixelated, really?
Yes, they are. Well, they're not that pixelated, but you can definitely see that it's pixelated.
Huh. I may have to get one of these just to see that.
Right? Yeah, you'd think it'd be smooth like the rest of the artwork, but it's not.
Weird. All right, yeah, we're ready for the next
Do
one.
you have any thoughts on the Napolitana, Vendari?
Other than it's better than the pillage? No, I don't.
All right.
All right, so I think you've got the HMS Ram.
Oh, good. The HMS Ram. So this one's English. 6 points for 3 cargo space, base move L, 2S, 3S cannons. Then on the turn the ship is pinned, eliminate 1 crew from the enemy ship.
Fitting name.
Yeah.
Basically.
Very fitting.
Yeah.
That's her whole job is to ram, so you can just kill enemy crew.
Yeah, ram and board. I think this one is actually a pretty solid support gunship, even better than Napolitana, because you got a very cheap cost for a gunship in general. And then Captain and Helmsman, you've got, good enough cannons, I guess, and then a solid ability. So with moving and shooting and ramming and boarding, you could eliminate a decent amount of mass and crew per turn. So she's probably not going to last long, but for around 11 points, it's not a terrible investment. So
yeah, not too bad, is it?
Yeah. I like this ability. I'm just not sure I like this ability on this ship.
That's fair.
Because it feels a little too slow to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd take one of the turtle ships that has this ability over this any day.
Like Divine Dragon or...
I think it's the Glorious Treasure that has it.
Yeah, Glorious Treasure does too. No, there is one called Divine Dragon.
Oh yeah, the
yeah, it's from Mysterious
one.
Islands.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've actually used that one pretty successfully. But Ram is probably a better ship because she's just got more firepower, and you're at least allowed to take her home and fix her.
And she's slightly more durable.
Yeah. Well, yeah, as long as she's being rammed instead of being shot at.
Yep.
But either way.
All right. Nice.
Yeah, I think
Derek, so you got the
it's
next
your
one?
turn for Diamond.
Yep.
All right, HMS Diamond. The English got two-masted sloops, and
They look very similar.
Okay. The back mast.
They have the same artwork.
Okay, the only difference between them is one is a 3L, the other one's a 3S. That's the only difference.
Well, there's also the
hulls and the other thing, everything look very similar. So I think they must use like Photoshop to tweak the artwork and like, okay, we can't be bothered. We'll just make a clone.
Yeah,
that's what they did.
However, artwork similarities aside, these ships are very different. All right. For example, the Diamond costs 12 points, twice as much. 2 cargo space, base move L, 3S, 3L. But if this ship has a captain crew, she gets +1 to her cannon rolls and +S to her base move. I like this one slightly more than the Ram because I can make this one faster overall.
But for way more cost. I don't know.
Yeah,
it would cost a lot
17 points.
Yeah.
You're spending 17 points for a captain and a helmsman on this.
Yeah. I think the Diamond it's kind of like a slightly better version of the Napolitana, but you are paying for that improvement. So you get a little more accurate, a little more similar max speed. So I would say the Diamond, I would say she's not as good as the Ram, but she's better in terms of being really effective. But you're probably not going to be able to afford her in most games.
Yeah, you're not going to get your bang for your buck for this one.
Yeah, exactly.
She's like a downgraded Black Pearl.
Way downgraded. Yeah, good point. Yeah, that's a fair point. Well, if HMS
I do like that ability, though.
All right, this won't be a good plan, fair warning.
Do it.
The Diamond is going to leave ships as a carcass. So the Carcajou is the best thing I can come up with. So the Carcajou is a 2-masted blockade runner for France. 11 points, 2 cargo, SS move. Both cannons are 3L. And once per turn, one of the ship's cannons can shoot again if it misses. So it's got cannoneer built in. I would say this is probably worse than both of the previous ships. I don't know why it's so expensive. And I think maybe 5 points would be fair. That's what I got.
I think
I'm noticing
points, honestly.
Yeah, I'm noticing a misspelling in her flavor text.
Yeah,
the French government purchased the Carcajou in a Brazilian port. Not beyond that. I think it's supposed to be what?
I did.
I think a Carcajou is like some kind of bird. So, what the heck is this thing?
Yeah. All right, I'll be back.
Yeah.
It's
not very exciting.
Yeah, after I bring up the next ship, I'll be on a short break too. But Carcajou, as Ben said, is definitely worth far less than she costs. I think 6 points. I think 5 is maybe a little bit cheap, considering that she has a pair of 3L guns and an okay ability and SS base move. Cargo space doesn't really matter because she's just a simple support gunship.
Yeah, like a third-tier gunship in like a large battle group in a campaign game.
Yeah.
Or like one of those tiny ships that you sail around your home island to make sure no one comes to raid you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At her printed price, though, Carcajou is a disaster.
Yeah.
Speaking of disaster, the next ship up, Black Bear, is an American blockade runner. This one's 8 points, 3 cargo, L move, both 3S guns. Once per turn, the ship can randomly take 1 treasure from any ship she touches.
There's no cargo space for that.
Yeah, no, there's no cargo space. There's no speed. She's not cheap. I mean, that ability is not good on any ship. It's just kind of a bad ability, and then you've got a bunch of underwhelming base stats. Even if you were to make this ship you could make this ship half her price, and you'd still struggle to find a use for her. Maybe
effectively.
Yeah, honestly, you could make her 4 points, and she'd still be a pretty ineffective ship, and you wouldn't use her.
Yeah, this one is
just
bad.
Too boring.
Yeah.
My big issue with the ability is because I usually don't bother trying to finagle my way to where I'm touching a ship without ramming it. So I usually just ram ships because it's easier to deal with to me. So the fact that this has that ability, and therefore once you ram a ship, unless that ship's already there, you're then pinned. So I hate being pinned to things, especially since those things will probably shoot back at me. So I wouldn't use this unless, as I said, I was using it against a derelict ship, or if this ability was on a galley, like a Corsair ship.
That's why I like the Cursed Blade so much, because it's a schooner, and then you can use that on that ship. So that's part of why the Cursed Blade is a good hybrid. You can turn.
Yeah, I could also go out on a limb and say this ability might be better suited on a crew always, because you could find a way to place it onto a ship that has enough cargo to make it useful.
Yeah.
Right.
Even then, I maintain it's not a useful ability.
No,
to
it's
make
not.
it somewhat viable then, as opposed to useful. It's something fun to do. I'm gonna go steal everyone's gold without getting any of it for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Go the pirate way. All right, you got the gold for me. Bravo. Now hand it over.
Just another thought, though, and not that this makes this any better, but you can use this against a ship that rams you. So,
I suppose so.
Yeah, I never thought about that.
I'd never thought about that either.
So if they're not if they don't have any treasure and they ram you, win the boarding party, well, give them some treasure, you just take it right back.
Interesting.
Well, it doesn't say anything about the order in which this ability must be used. So,
interesting.
In theory, you could make this a really stupid little gold runner with a defensive ability.
Really stupid to sum this up.
Very stupid, but still, it's something. It's a thought. It's not going to help it much, but
the thought that counts.
Pretty much.
Except it doesn't in this game. What counts in entire CSG is extra actions.
Yeah.
And speed, depending on who you talk to.
Mm-hmm.
Extra actions and speed. If you don't have that, you lose.
Yeah, basically. I once knew a guy who lost a game. His name was Adams.
I lost.
Adams. Speaking of which, I thought you guys would get that.
I already because I looked at the next one.
Yeah. The next ship is Poor Adams, and it is Vendari's to bring in.
Yes. So, I believe this is actually a custom-made ship from a contest or something, right? This is something somebody actually submitted to his kids.
Yeah.
Kind of the Abomination, which we'll get to later. So, the Port Adams is a 4-mast curse ship with 3 cargo space, base move L, 4 cannons that are 3L on the stern and bow, and then in the middle you have 2 3S cannons. Then she's eternal and may dock at an enemy home island and load 1 treasure. If able, she must leave on your next turn. And all of this for 16 points. The ability with the flavor text actually kind of matches. It's not printed here, but I've got the card right here. I can look it up real quick. The flavor text says, "It's said that when the desperate and downtrodden truly have nowhere else to go, they can wander down to any shore, let the tide roll in over them on a moonless night, and join the cursed crew of the poor atoms." So the ability kind of matches up with the flavor text here, in that you can dock at an enemy home island. You're not going to pick up some poor, worthless soul, but you are going to get some treasure out of it. But for that price and for that speed, I'd go with something else.
Yeah, I think this ship is actually pretty viable for the curse because they're kind of weak as a faction. I like a captain and helmsman, and then I leave one spot open for the option of getting gold, but I mainly use it as a gunship. And then you've just got that ability if opportunity arises, then you could take one coin. Maybe you'll get lucky. And then Eternal is just a good ability to have in general. And here you've got the 3L at the bow and stern instead of in the middle of the ship, which is kind of interesting. So I find this one not great, but for the Cursed, as a 4-masted gunship, it's not too bad. So 2 decent abilities, relatively fair cost. She'd be great with 4 or 5 cargo for the Cursed, but she's not too bad.
I see this ability, and I just want to use her repeatedly as a really obnoxious home island raider. Where you fix her, you have a helmsman, you fix her, you send her straight back to your opponent's home island, you steal 1 or 2 gold pieces, you get sunk, and then you just rinse and repeat. It's just like a really, really obnoxious strategy. Not very effective, but
it's not very effective at all.
It would be
the reason being it's not effective. I believe it's written in Eternal. When you sink, the only thing that comes back with you is the crew. Any treasure you had or equipment goes down with the ship. Well, so if you have a captain and a helmsman and you sail over and you intentionally take 1 coin, and then you let yourself get sunk. So now it's up in the air. Okay, so who did the sinking? Who gets the coin? Does the coin just go away in general?
I'm pretty sure that it follows the rules of the game's rules of sinking, in that the person who sank it gets the lion's share of the gold. But if you've picked up 2 coins, then you can gradually send small amounts of gold back to your own home island over the period of like 8 turns, 1 at a time.
That's obnoxious.
That is obnoxious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like this ship for that.
Please do that in a campaign game.
Okay, yes, please, somebody do that.
I wanted to, but okay. I tried doing that home island raiding en masse or en masse in 2015, and now whenever I buy a home island raider in my campaigns, my brothers instantly look at me and go, "Spend all the gold right now. Just don't let them get close."
Yeah.
Okay. So quick question.
Yes.
When it says she must leave on your next turn, that just means you have to move just 1 segment, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
If you've got a captain,
you can use it.
Yeah.
So that does mean you can throw a helmsman on her, move L away, then move L in one direction, then move back and dock again.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah. In theory, what you can do is you can't do that. I don't think.
Oh yeah, you can. I think you can choose whichever. If you got a helmsman, or
only if the base
you can
move.
join base
Only
move,
if the
you
base
can
move
choose.
is S plus L. If it's a base move L, you're supposed to move the bonuses after. It's not a rule a lot of people use, and from the rules survey, I'm pretty sure a lot of people voted not in favor of it, so they'd rather have it the way you do it. But technically, it's supposed to be like base move first, then bonuses, but it is.
But in theory, it's still possible if you do the smallest angle with the island as possible, and then you may end up less than S away and still be able to return in the same turn.
Yeah, you can always. It's easy to pull off because you don't have to move the full L anyway. You can just move a tiny.
Yeah, there's that too.
True.
Okay. Yeah. I always forget about that rule. You don't have to move the full L or S.
No.
I always forget about that.
I always do that. Yeah, it's very useful for maneuvering and whatnot in crowded areas.
I think we've spent enough time on that one ship that we all kind of agree is feudal. So why don't we move on to the Royal Louis for Xerex, for Royal Xerex.
Even more futility, in my opinion. Okay, Royal Louis, we've got 13 points, 4-masted Frencher, 4 cargo space, base move L, 3S cannons, and broadsides attack. I'll say this: she's a slight improvement over the Rise of the Fiends one.
Yeah, I definitely
because
trouble
I
that one.
cannot stand the parlay keyword. I don't like it.
No, the other Royal Lewis is definitely better than this one. Yeah,
well, okay. The other Royal Louis is a better Gold Runner. This one's a slightly better gunship.
Yeah, exactly. Like, slightly better. The other one is way better Gold Runner. So
I still
neither are great, but this one is just
between the
really
two,
boring.
it comes down to what your fleet needs.
And I need a better gunship.
If I had to choose between the two, I'd probably choose something else.
Exactly. Yeah.
Choose C, other.
Yeah, this one.
Choose D. Have my dog eat it. No, that would be bad for her gut. This ship is. This ship's just kind of an abomination. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yep.
Yeah.
I like this next ship much better than the Royal Louis.
Yeah. So
both
the next
for artwork
one is,
and faction preferences.
Yeah, the Abomination is a 4-masted curse ship, and it's 15 points, 4 cargo, L move. Cannons are 3L, 3S, 3S, 3L, and Cannoneer built in, just like we saw with my last ship. I went over the Carcajou. So this one's an okay cursed gunship. I'd much rather have the 4 atoms, because then you get 2 good abilities instead of 1 with Eternal, which is pretty cool for just 1 more point. That being said, the Abomination is an okay gunship for the curse, because they don't have a lot of good ones, but as is, except for the artwork, it's pretty boring, actually, I think.
Artwork is fantastic on this.
I don't know if anybody knows the story behind this artwork. Am I the only one?
I think this was the winner of some kind of artwork contest that WizKids held.
Yeah. I don't remember when they held the contest. I want to say they held it like years before they released Fire and Steel, because I could swear I printed out the little artwork thing myself. But Abomination, there was a contest to design the artwork for a ship. Somebody won, and then this came out. It's not necessarily like particularly well drawn, but it does stand out from the rest of the set, and it's still pretty neat. It's kind of a shame, though, that its stats are, they may be
abominable.
They may be above average for the cursed, but as a whole, they're not good. No. Just too expensive and lame of a ship. I think this should be 10 points.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I really like the artwork on it. You've got like what looks like, Mr. Oogie Boogie from The Nightmare Before Christmas on the main mast.
Yeah.
And I like the spine look of the hull. But I agree. This could probably use a point reduction, given that it's reasonably boring across its stats. But within the cursed, it's okay. It's like in a weird place. I also recall reading like old forum posts when Fire and Steel came out. People hated this ship.
I still do.
It's really not that great. I think its name is very suitable.
Yeah.
As far as the stats go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, would you rather have an Abomination or Lady Scorn?
Definitely. I'll have no fury.
Like a Lady Scorned.
I'd rather have Abomination, but I guess I have to talk about Lady Scorn, which is a 3-masted pirate ship, square rig.
Oh, I thought we were talking about the Rise of the Fiends version. Sorry.
Yeah, that's what I was going for.
No.
I'd rather have that one or the 5-masted version, not this one.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, this was crap.
Yeah.
This version of Lady Scorn is 15 points, 3 masts, 3 cargo space, L move. The guns are 2S, 3S, 4S. +1 to boarding rolls and broadsides attack, which is useless on anything with, basically any 4S gun, probably 3S as well. Why? This is just a bad mix of abilities that don't fit the ship. She's too expensive. She's slow. She's not very durable. Go away, Lady Scorn.
It's the worst version of the ship.
Yeah. I would say
when it came out in South China Seas, it went from 5 to 4 to 3. Arguably the worst version.
Yeah, definitely. I would say maybe 11 points with all 2S cannons, then it would be playable, but that's a huge change, so it would take a lot to fix this junk here. So. All right.
One thing I'd like to know, this is the only the only version of the Lady Scorn that's not linked to Calico Cat.
Oh yeah, where'd she go?
She used up all of her 9 lives, I guess.
Oh, darn it.
Probably. But There's a snake coming up. I couldn't make it work. I'm sorry.
That's all right. You're not used to it.
Yeah.
The puns, they have their moments.
Yeah, that one just didn't work out at all.
That's fine.
I tried. I'm usually better about puns, but no, go ahead. I guess it's me for the Black Mamba.
Yeah.
So 3 masts, 10 points with 3 cargo space, L base move. Cannons are okay at 3S, 3L, 3S. When the ship is given a shoot action for every cannon roll of 6, target's controller eliminates an extra mast for every 1 eliminated mast from the ship. So basically, she's got a built-in Captain Mission. Not too impressed. She's got decent value for her point cost. Yeah.
Not very good otherwise.
Yeah, it's boring and not very exceptional. So this is one of my least favorite ships in the game because during my Economy Edition game 3 years ago this month, I actually managed to roll 3 ones in a row to dismast the ship by itself.
Yeah.
So
I've done that with other ships too.
Yeah, it's awful.
So
it makes you swear off this ability like forever in a way. It's like so damaging. Oh, yeah. It's like, wow, I'm not going to do anything with that ever again on any ship, basically. So
and do a lot of other swearing too.
Ability.
Yep, a lot of other swearing involved too. It's like, I got a 1. Oh, darn it! I got 2 more. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Too much risk for the reward.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like it's really embarrassing. I don't know. It strikes me as such a lame ship. Like, it's so embarrassing. Like, you're going to try to shoot to attack your opponent, and then you end up getting yourself dismasted. It's just so bad.
And then probably sunk on your next turn if you, get, 2 or 3 ones.
Yeah.
And you're right next to some other gunship. Well, dang it.
Yeah, not a good one at all. Okay. No. Yeah, probably move to the next one.
Yay, Santa brought presents.
He brought a Catalina for you.
Wow, he gave me my own island? Awesome. All right, Channel Island joke.
Yeah.
All right, Santa Catalina.
Nothing. Sorry, I was trying to make another pun there, but it didn't work.
All right, for 9 points, you get 2 cargo spaces, S+S base move, 3 masts of all 3L cannons, and when this ship hits another ship, you choose which mast is eliminated. I think I've said it, I'm not fond of that ability, but I think this ship is appropriately costed. I mean, it's not very good, but it's not abysmally bad like some other things. I think maybe the cargo space would be the only thing I'd have against it.
Yeah, I'd say it's like a good budget gunship because you'll end up moving 3S with solid cannons and then a little extra ability that's not too good, but at least it fits the ship's role as a gunship. So it's not bad, but it's just not. It's just kind of like a numbers gunship in a larger game usually.
Yeah,
honestly, I think.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I honestly think this is a pretty decent ship for the price. You're getting decent size. You're getting pretty solid guns. You don't need the cargo space because between the guns, the ability, the low cost, and the decent base move, it's pretty obvious this is just a simple support gunship. Yeah. It's nothing exceptional, but I really can't fault it for what it is and where it costs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's pretty solid.
I don't think I have this one.
I don't think I do either.
I think I do. I just don't have that book with me. But I was gonna say this might be a good poll if you were playing like a sealed game or something.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it'd be good. Yeah.
Although the next one will be a really good poll.
Yeah.
Oh yes, it would.
Sealed game.
Yeah. The San Pedro is the next ship, is Spanish 3-master as well, 11 points, 4 cargo, SL move, all 3 cannons are 3S, and one of the ship's treasures is worth +2 gold when unloaded at your home island, which is one of the best abilities in the game. We've gone over it a bunch on the set review episodes, so this is a fantastic ship overall. You could even turn into a hybrid with a captain. I would probably put a helmsman and just try to make as many trips as possible to try to get a lot of gold bonuses piling up. But there's really nothing to complain about here. It's one of the better Spanish gold runners in the game, and definitely one of the top ships of the set overall. So San Pedro is highly recommended.
Yeah, this is a combination of reasonable cost, good cargo space, good base move, and very powerful ability. It's really hard to argue with this ship.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, definitely one of the best gold runners in the set.
Yeah.
And
I think the only thing I have against the San Pedro in general is that she's a direct clone of the El Aquamista from South China Seas.
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean, it's the same even ship type, but, you know, the only good thing about that is because since they're not the same ship and they both cost 11 points, you could use them both at the same time.
Exactly.
And just annoy everybody.
Yeah.
God dang it.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Cool.
All right. Let's see. Wait, was the Nova Scotia mine to start?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I believe so.
Wonderful. Nova Scotia is an English ship, 10 points, 3 masts. They are 3L, 2L, 3S, which is strange. 3 cargo, L move. When the ship is docked to your home island, you may eliminate 1 treasure, turn it into a 3S gun. We've already talked about this ability. We kind of like it, but this is sort of statistically a weird and not particularly good ship. I like the weird ability, but this is not weird in kind of an interesting and good way. It's weird in the sort of just pack filler dull way.
Yeah, I agree completely.
Yeah.
The Apollo is much better for 3 more points, so because you get more durability, speed, and cannon. So this one, not much reason to use her. I've used her maybe once or twice, and it didn't turn out super well, I don't think. So this one's pretty mediocre.
Yeah, I wouldn't use her.
Yeah.
She stays in the box.
What I want to do is Captain, maybe Helmsman, Captain, Musketeer, and Cannoneer. And then you can, get other stuff to bring gold back to your island. Get yourself a small ship with a lot of firepower. It's a gimmick. This is not for a competitive game.
Yeah.
But you might have fun with a 3-masted ship that's got 4, 5, 6 guns on it.
Yeah.
This might be nice to have the Hermione Gold Trevor Van Tyne combo on it.
Oh yeah.
That's a good one.
Because then you got a helmsman with that captain too.
Yeah.
And a discount musketeer.
Nice.
And a discount
Van Tyne
musketeer
coming in at 2 points as opposed to the regular 3. So that combo totals you 7 points. You got 3 points left over for
your Cannoneer and Norseman.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Nice.
20 points for a 3-mast ship.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Quick scruple about the flavor text. And for someone who knows more about history of Canada than me, what was Canada ever partially owned by England or something? Were there ever English colonies up there?
I think there must have been, but last I knew, Canada was sort of more French, hence
because
Montreal.
But now she's crewed by resourceful Canadians who enthusiastically volunteered when the English throne called for a ship to sail. Wait, what?
Huh. Yeah, that's a little funky.
That's weird.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Some things changed hands after the 7 Years' War, I believe.
Oh, okay, that could be it.
And Fire and Steel kind of thematically is kind of like Napoleonic Wars or early 1800s in a way, so maybe that's part of it.
Yeah.
I'd still rather be in Montreal.
Yeah.
And just another thought. I mean, the New World was up in that area. I mean, there are bits of Canada that are around places like Boston and Jamestown and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Well, I guess Jamestown's a little too far south, but Boston definitely in Vermont or Massachusetts.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, those are pretty close.
Yeah, so I mean, with Canada not being too far away from those cities, it would make sense that there may be some English Canadians.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Nice.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Canada, that's what the next ship's all about. Vindari.
All right, we got the Montreal. So 3-mast for the French. 11 points. You get 3 cargo space, S plus S base move. Your cannons are 3S, 2S, 3S. As part of a move action, the ship can initiate a boarding party against a ship up to S away from her without having to ram. The boarded ship can't use any boarding bonuses. So she's got the built-in S board with her. She's got 3 cargo space to fill up with treasure that she can take from that. Decent speed. The point cost is okay, I guess. Yeah, throw on a captain, maybe a helmsman, but then you only have one space left for that boarding.
Ara's your. Just for why not?
Just for why not?
I'm gonna say no.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
I know, but still.
It's kind of just a mediocre, like, mid-sized gunship. It's not really too special or too interesting, so meh.
Yeah, I'm bothered by this. This is a statistically mediocre ship. The French have way too many S-boarders. This is kind of redundant. I'm just kind of disappointed that this ship exists.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. Next one.
Yep. Paul Tuckett-Rex.
Yeah, all right. 3-masted American. For 11 points, you get 4 cargo spaces, base move of L, 3S, 2L, 3X cannons. And after looking at a treasure on a wild island, you can trade any one treasure from that island for a random treasure on any other wild island. This ship must load the traded treasure. That's a pretty handy ability.
Yep.
I'm not sure if the Pawtucket is able to maximize that effectively or not.
I think she's okay as, like, as a hybrid.
Yeah.
I do
She's like some kind of strange hybrid.
Yeah, kind of slow, but, the guns are good enough. The cargo is just high enough to maybe get 2 cargo spaces open, then you get to use the ability.
Yeah.
So I would say it's kind of a mid-sized American hybrid, I suppose.
I
mean, the Neptune's Horde. The Neptune's Horde from Revolution is 1 point more. You're getting a lot more bang for your buck here. You got 4 cannons, an extra S tier speed, 1 more cargo space. I mean,
and your pirate. You've got the best crew that ever existed. So
I would rather use Mohican.
Yeah.
Okay, Mohican is a better straight up gunship.
Yeah.
Because she's got all rank 2 cannons to start with.
Mm-hmm. But doesn't she also have does she have
she's got the crew of any nationality. She's got 4 cargo, I believe, in base
4 cargo. Yep. Yeah, well, if she's got 4 cargo, she has what amounts to better guns, I think, because she is all 3 2S.
Yeah,
I think one
significantly better.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. Pawtucket, no, thank you. What about? I mean, at least she doesn't kind of make me sickle.
Yeah. All right, so
shameless.
Next one is the Sickle, which is a cursed 4-masted switchblade. It's 21 points, 3 cargo, L move. Cannons are all 3 S's. And along with the Switchblade keyword, it says this ship gets +1 to cannon rolls against ships that don't have all their masts. So, as Switchblades go, as we'll see very soon, this one is actually pretty subpar. The cost is very high for what you're getting. I would say it's really boring. I guess the ability makes it stand out a little bit, but the cargo, the move, the cannons, they're all just meh and not very exciting. And the other cursed Switchblade, which we'll see eventually, is way better. Same cost, kind of like the Concurrent versus Grand Vaincourt, kind of like that problem in a way. But the Sickle, first of the Switchblades here, I feel like it should have been listed as like the first uncommon ship in the set. Kind of weird that it wasn't, but anyway, overall, not a very exciting option.
Yeah, Sickle is. These base stats belong to a 9 or 10 point ship. Switchblade is intensely overpriced, so is this other ability, I think. I think I would pay 14 points at the most for this.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, I'd say that makes sense too.
Yeah. Cool. Then I guess it sounds like we can move on to the HMS Salient, which is considerably better. Salient ditches the extra silly abilities, just a switchblade, no other abilities. Instead costs 20 points, so it's 1 point less, still expensive, but it gets 5 cargo, L move, all 3 L guns. So it's got more cargo, it's cheaper, it doesn't have a useless ability, and all of its guns are better. Oh, and it has a better crew selection. It's just
and
significantly
space to take advantage of that crew selection too.
Yeah. You can do what you want with this. You can make an expensive hybrid, or you can do a serious warship. Up to you.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's a
I
good
would probably convert the next one into a serious warship, but this also has potential. I mean, the L-range cannons are very nice, that nice range. You can get around a cancer reasonably easily with those. 20 points and 5 cargo, that's lots of room for some more expensive or exotic English crew.
Oh, yes. Thomas gun, anyone?
Yeah.
Any version.
Any version, including his father.
Yeah, canonically, you might be able to get away with that because of the no duplicates, because they are technically
Right.
different people.
Yeah.
So that version of gun gives you, I think, +1 against Spanish?
Yeah, it's not very good.
And then, okay, that's situational. So, yeah.
And, you know, with that no duplicates rule, I think it's been determined that all of the Thomas Gun crew, except for Thomas Gun the Elder, are the same guy.
Yeah, they are. Yep.
Yeah, I think I'm actually the one who pointed that out. So, yeah. Because I was studying his flavor text because I wanted to use him for the RPG a long time ago. Not so much anymore, but speaking of the RPG, I'm going to claw my way into this next ship here.
Aye.
Yeah, I did it this time. We got the HMS Talon, the other English switchblade, and probably, in my opinion, maybe the better one.
No.
I don't know, maybe not to that point, but she looks pretty. So she's 23 points, and for that you're gonna get 4 cargo space, L base move. Cannons are 3L, 3S, 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 followed by the switchblade keyword, and the ship ignores the first hit she takes each turn as long as she has all of her masts. So she is a little expensive.
A little?
More than a little.
3 points more gets me the Dreadnought.
Yep, that's true. It does, doesn't
you
it?
could get HMS London and HMS Oxford for this price.
Yeah. Or you could get the Zanfu, the fastest 10 master, for only 2 more points.
Yeah.
But she does have a decent defensive ability. It's not that good, but it's defense.
A mix of offense and defense.
Yeah. This is one of the ships my players in the Pirates RPG actually ended up taking control of. She was taken out in the English Channel.
Nice.
The players heard about this, so they got together with a bunch of other pirates in the area, staged a raid. They ended up capturing it. Unfortunately, while sailing back to the Caribbean, they ran out of food, so
everybody died and it became a cursed ship.
No, but there was an unfortunate whaling incident in the ship.
Wow.
Whales, man.
Yeah,
nice.
I'm pretty
no matter
sure.
How big your ship is, there's always a whale that's bigger.
There is always a whale that's bigger. Monster.
There's always a bigger fish.
Oh, by the way, it was an albino sperm whale.
Oh, I wonder where that's coming from. Yeah,
I wanted a Moby Dick in there, but yeah, I didn't mean for the ship to sink. Honestly, it was just kind of a bad decision on my part. I didn't realize that the minimum damage a large whale could do is equal to the minimum damage you need to damage a ship its size in that game.
Huh.
Yeah, so every hit was gonna hurt the thing. Yeah. Anyway, off that tangent, back to actual application for this ship. Yeah, I guess she's not that good, but she is pretty with the gold blades and the talon on the mizzen mast.
Yeah, I just find it kind of overpriced because the Salient is a decent switchblade, but also much better because you're paying 3 more points for the Talon to get that ability, which has costed 4 points on a crew, but you also lose a cargo space and you lose some range on the guns, and it's pretty debatable if that ability is really worth 4, so Salient is a better value in general. So
yeah. Mediocre armament, not that fast. Cargo space is a bit above average, so it's the ability. The price definitely is. So Talon, I think, is one of the worst switchblades. She's just too expensive and just not very good.
Yeah. a little bit better
So
than
if
the sickle.
it was
but
between the
not that.
Talon and the sickle,
I would say Talon a little
The
bit.
Talon,
by
but not by much, just because
Exactly.
the Talon has, I mean, 2 points between them. Talon has a better ability, more cargo, and slightly better armament, as well as better crew selection.
Yeah.
Talon is definitely better than the Sickle, but not by all that much.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Next up is the Saber, and I think, is yours there, X?
yeah. All right, Saber, we have the French Switchblade. Coming in at 23 points, you get 4 cargo, L-base move, all 2S cannons, and +1 to your boarding rolls. On a ship's that is boarding focused, that's really handy, especially since all Switchblades are at minimum 4 masts. With that +1 to boards, you can go up against targets slightly bigger than yourself and still have a good chance of winning. Especially since, if you use it, you come in with the Saber, you shoot your cannons, and then you Switchblade. You've just broadsided a ship, probably hit all of them. You use the Switchblades to knock another mast off, and then you board. You're starting at 5, and if they're still floating, they're starting at 1 or 2. So it's very much in your favor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
like this ship.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, this is a ship where I would use an S-boarder and possibly Capitaine Erzur as well.
Oh, gosh.
And now, hot take, this is a ship I'd also consider using broadsides attack on.
Maybe.
It's got all 2S guns.
That is a very good point.
It's a consider, not say it, I would.
Yeah. I don't know if I would.
Yeah.
I would actually put something else. I would put something else aboard. I actually have a fleet. I'll try to link it in the post for this. There's a couple of fleets I made.
Yeah, your Saber fleet with Nemo.
With the Saber. Yeah, exactly. I love this ship because of the crazy stuff you can do with Nemo. With Bonnie, you can get Bonnie Peel on here with Jordan Dumas from Ocean's Edge. You can do a lot of crazy stuff with this one. So that's one of the reasons I like her. She's got that huge cost and then good cannons and a great boarding monster. One of the best boarding monsters in the game, I would say. So
yeah, she's a lot of fun. She's definitely one of the better Switchblades too.
Yeah, she's a lot of fun with a crazy crew setup. Definitely.
I wish they did more of these.
Huh.
Yeah, because outside of these, what is it, 4, and then the super rare, that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
Because it's I feel that way about Bombardiers too, because these two were like the things you saw on the cover art. A Switchblade going up against a Bombardier.
Yeah.
So why did they only make 5 of each?
Yeah.
Right.
All the boring ships we just talked about, except for maybe the San Pedro, make all of them a Switchblade or a Bombardier, and then maybe this gets a little bit more interesting.
Then we'd have so many pokey ships we wouldn't even know what game we were playing. We got Scyther up in here.
Pokemon or Pirates?
Are you using Scyther or HMS Talon? Can't tell. So.
Now we'd have jousting matches. Hit the blades with each other.
Yeah.
Or would that be more appropriate for sticking a hoist crane jet out in front of it?
Yeah, maybe.
Right.
I actually made a custom crew today called the Jousting Champion, which I'll unveil eventually. Yeah, but yeah, I think it was okay to limit some of these ships. There was a lot of gimmicks, and a lot of people weren't huge fans of them. So anyway, and a lot of them are
still
mediocre too.
More than 5, I think.
Yeah,
maybe give every faction, give every faction at least 1. So this is the English got 2, the French got 1, and the Cursed got 1. Yeah. So that leaves the Pirates, the Americans, and am I forgetting someone of the big
Spanish?
6? Oh, the Spanish, yeah, them.
Yeah.
Spanish,
so give them at least 1 and see what happens. Maybe.
Yeah. Or you
another thing to think about is that. Sorry, another thing to think about is that England and France both got a Switchblade and a Bombardier.
Yeah, they were the ones that benefited from this, along with the Curse a little bit.
And they would have both had a hoist as well if Return to Savage Shores came out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, yeah. And one of the things about this set is narratively, it's focused on a battle between England and France. I mean, Lord Byron is all about that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it makes sense. All right.
Something right before we move into the next piece, I'd like to point out is we're about 2.5 hours into this, and we are about a third of the way through the set. Should this be a 2-part episode?
I don't know.
I think 2 parts sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah,
If you want.
I've already, I mean, 1 would be nice, but at the same time, I'm not sure I can stay up past midnight my time to see this all the way through.
Yeah, either 2 parts, or we could speed up through some of the mediocre stuff. Either way.
I think we should probably do a 2-part because there's a lot of interesting stuff coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the end,
I agree. And I actually have people coming over soon, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I want to say we can speed up a bit. Why don't we make USS Shark number 81 our stopping point for this episode?
Yeah, that sounds about
All
right.
right.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right.
Well, the thing is, I've got 10 minutes.
Okay.
We'll see.
Yeah.
If you guys want to continue without me, feel free. But I gotta go.
All right. Why don't we actually build it around when you get off, and then we'll just pick it up next time.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. Sounds good.
All right.
All right.
Then let's get Ben on Fire Shot.
Yeah, so Fire Shot is an equipment, and the first one we've seen so far. It's an uncommon 1 point. Once per turn, when this ship is given a shoot action, one of her cannons can shoot a fire shot. Declare which cannon will shoot the fire shot before rolling a d6. If it hits, the target's controller replaces one of her masts with a fire mast. If the cannon roll is a 1, eliminate fire shot from the game and replace one of the ship's masts with a fire mast. So this is kind of a discount way of getting some good extra weaponry aboard. The fire pot specialist is 2 points. This one is a cool trade-off because you can use it with L range guns. You're not limited to S, or you don't shorten the range like you do with specialist crew. But you do have that negative of setting yourself aflame on a 1. So I like the trade-off. For a dirt cheap cost of 1, I would say this is worth it. It just depends on what you want to use it on. I try to use it on ships with L range guns because you don't have to shorten it up, and you want to use it with accurate guns on a gunship, obviously. But I would say Fire Shot is a good equipment and a cool game piece in general.
Yeah, I for the longest time didn't realize this applied to L range guns, and I just sort of thought it was the cheap version of a firepot specialist. But no, tactically it does have value in completely different scenarios as well.
You could use it on USS Atlanta on LL. You could double it. Yeah.
Ooh,
Oh, goodness.
don't give me any ideas.
The trick with that is find a way to get power cannons onto one of those ships, and then really snipe at something.
Ben Nino's plans.
Oh, man.
I was talking about that in the rules thread just recently, actually, and I think the max is around 8L with a couple different ways of doing
it. Boo, Wolf, stop it. Boo.
You're gonna be doing the next one. Oh my god.
If you put this on one ship or a ship with one of the free rerollers, that would be a really good way to mitigate the drawback of rolling a 1. Say you say, oh, I didn't roll this one. I actually rolled it's a 2. I missed anyway, but at least I'm not on fire.
Yeah. That's my one big problem with Fire Shot. Just this one. I like equipment in general, and I have a love-hate relationship with Fire Shot. I love when I hit stuff with it. However, most times I roll a 1. And, like the one time I roll a 1, I also have them using it on a ship like the Black Mamba, so it's double damage or something like that.
Why are you using the Black Mamba?
I was using it as like an example, but no.
I know. Why are you using the Black Mamba?
I was going to mention, though, that sentence, at least I'm not on fire, is something we can always be grateful for.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's cool, I just realized something else that's cool about equipment. It means you can give nations that didn't get like a specialist crew, it's a way for you to give them, that ability, if you will, at like a major discount, too. Even though I think most of the minor factions have specialist crew, this is still a slightly cheaper way to go sometimes, and just more fun in general sometimes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or you can stack them up to do a ton of fire damage, like and then exploding
this will,
shot
I think,
too.
Yeah, this will stack with a regular specialist. Yeah. So a regular specialist, this, and then exploding shot on a bombardier.
Yeah, quite possibly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier with the bombardier English one. Yep.
Yeah.
It's tough to work it aboard with a captain and helmsman, but there's a few setups where it can be doable, even if it's not practical.
Speaking of doable, if it's not practical, one could maybe somehow figure out a way to use Knights Errant, which is, as the stats say, this is one of the worst ships ever released. WizKids had forgotten.
Oh, yes.
Had forgotten that Ghost Ship is not very good. And on this ship, funny enough, it's not even usable. It literally isn't usable. This is one of the worst ships they ever released, if not outright the worst. Knights Errant is 17 points and is a 3-masted cursed galley. 3 cargo space. Okay, so that's average. Base move of S. Oh, that's bad. Guns, 4S, 4L, 4S. What? Ghost Ship, which, because of the mechanics of Ghost Ship, you cannot end your turn overlapping anything. Technically, you can't even use the keyword. And then this ship gets +1 to her cannon rolls against pirate ships.
Well, at least your pirates are common.
Yeah.
So I get +1 to my cannon rolls against Jade Rebellion.
Yeah, you know what else?
Ever going to play the Jade Rebellion?
Bunch of other ships that are cursed. Like, the cursed are known for being kind of bad, but this is a step beyond. This is totally irredeemable.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I can't remember if it might have been De Soto. I think he entered like a joke fleet one time to try to win a fleet challenge, and he was like had like a sarcastic description where he talked about how you'll be amazed by my fleet, and this was like the flagship. It was great. But yeah, this is just horrid. I don't even know. You almost can't assign a cost because Ghost Ship is supposed to be, a few points worth, and you think the ship would be worth something, but in reality, if you use this like 5 or 6 or 7 points, you still wouldn't want it. You still wouldn't.
This would be a 1-point ship, and you would not use it.
I would.
I'm serious. Nobody.
No, I would use it.
If it had all that stats for 1 point, yes, I'd use it.
Yeah, I would use it. I would use it as an empty gold runner. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or at least you say you would, and then you'd go, wait, I can have...
That's almost free, though, so there's not much else you can get.
I'd probably cost this at 7. Just cut off that. Just remove the 1 there.
Yeah.
Maybe that was one of those typos, Like it should
be like with Cannonball Gallows.
Yeah, yeah.
A 10-point LR +5.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah,
that makes no sense.
Yeah, maybe it's a typo because this is just crap.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Why would you cost something that moves S with terrible guns at 17?
You know what I think they did wrong? They forgot the decimal point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe they were
.17.
Yeah, maybe I just thought of something. Maybe with Ghost Ship, they valued that at 8 on Ralph David from Barbary Coast. So take that away, it'd be 9, and then take away the cannon bonus, it'd be 7. So without the extra abilities, it might be 7.
It's still bad at 7.
I know.
Yeah, it is.
You could get it down there at least.
I'd say Ghost Ship is not a bad ability, but it's not the best ever. I think 8 is too much for it, but I think if you put Ghost Ship at 4 or 3, that would be okay for what it does, in my opinion.
I think 2. Ghost Ship isn't that good.
I think 3
it can prevent you from being boarded, which is cool.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, I think Ignores Terrain could be 2, and therefore Ghost Ship could be 3 or 4. That's what I think.
Yeah,
also with Ghost Ship, you can move through other ships as long as you don't, end your turn overlapping them.
Yeah. All right.
Which is no fun.
Yeah. So, but the base speed of the Errant here completely kills that, Ghost Ship ability.
Well, I think I've got my eye on this next one here.
Yeah,
I'm getting into it. Unfortunately, this might have to be the last one because my company's here.
Yeah. All right.
This is another 3-mast cursed galley. She's 11 points with 3 cargo space, L base move. Her cannons are 3S, 2S, 3S. At least they're better than the Knights Errant. And she gets +1 to her boarding rolls. So for a galley, that's a decent ability because, they ram without being pinned, but they also ram without dealing damage. So that +1 kind of mitigates that. For a cursed ship, she seems okay for what you're getting. I mean, the Curse do tend to be overpriced, but that's also because they're. I think that might also be because they tend to focus on crew, and because crew rely on a high point cost.
Oh, that's a good point.
Well, that's also kind of like saying, you know, you're not bad looking for somebody who had his face mauled by a lawnmower.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't think being okay in the context of the Cursed is all that significant, because you're not, if you're going to play the Cursed, you're going to play their good stuff.
Right.
If you're going to play the Cursed at all.
Right.
Which means unless you're playing a really gigantic game where you have to pull out everything they have, you're not going to use Cyclops because she's not good.
Yeah.
It's not very bad, though, either.
She's not too bad. She's kind of just an okay gunship for the Curse. It's kind of boring, but not too horrible.
But next to Knight's Errant, everything is going to look, pretty attractive.
Yep. I like the artwork, too. Nice color of red.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Let's make Splinter the last one for this episode.
Oh, wait, we got an even number. I'm fine with that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right, cool.
Makes sense.
All right, so Splinter.
We'll break there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so Splinter comes to me, is it?
Yep.
All right. We've got a 3-masted pirate galley, cost of 7 points for 5 cargo and S base move, all 2S cannons, galley keyword, and eliminate one of the ship's masts when she rolls a 1 on any cannon roll. Okay, even with 2S cannons, I am never using this as a gunship. I'm using it as a slow gold runner.
Yeah. I think the cost trade-off actually kind of works here as compared to the Black Mamba, because I would use it as a hybrid. I actually love this ship. I just think it's such a great deal, because you're getting 3 2S cannons and 5 cargo for 7 points, which is pretty solid regardless of the rest of it. So I would do a Captain and Helmsman, or maybe, I'd probably use Hammersmith on a different ship, but Captain and Helmsman, maybe an Oarsman, and then you'd have 3 cargo spaces left over as a hybrid. So for 12 points, that's not too bad. I know the Pirates have way better options, but I think the Splinter is kind of habitually underrated by the fans of the game, personally.
I view this as a buffed up Paradox from Deepak.
Yeah, definitely. I think Splinter is a ship that it's just cheap enough where you can't quite make it a really good hybrid, or throw a re-roller on it and be effective. So she's not quite there, but her base stats are just good enough that she's worth using.
Yeah. You could try Hammersmith with a Cannoneer, and that would be 7. With 3.
Yeah.
Then you're wasting Hammersmith on Splinter.
Yeah, that's
I'd
true.
rather use Hammersmith on something else, man.
Yeah, no, that's what I said.
Why not?
Yeah,
There's
that's
this
what I said.
10-masted pirate ship called Zeus.
I'm just saying that you could just get a Cannoneer instead of a re-roller for a point less and still fit it if you want.
Yeah, you're right about that. So why not Captain Helmsman Cannoneer?
Because then you'd lose the cargo space. If you're trying to use it as a hybrid, I like to have 3 open, preferably.
Yeah, but at the same time, if you really do want to use her as a hybrid, which involves putting her in combat, you do want to have something to save your bacon for when you roll a 1.
Yeah, and it's one thing to keep in mind about Cannoneers is that they don't actually re-roll your cannon roll. It's a new shot. So even if you roll the 1, you're still losing a mast.
Yeah, that's a good point, yeah.
Well, that's fun.
Hence why I'd never use this as a gunship. This is just a straight slow runner.
Honestly, I'd like this ship a little better if her base move was L.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, if her base move was L, then I might consider using her as a hybrid of sorts. But at a base speed of S?
Yeah, there's no way.
Yeah.
Especially for the pirates, who, for 7 points, for pirate, you can get hecka better ships.
Yeah.
Hecka. I like that.
Her cannons are tempting, but
exactly. I just don't feel like you can ignore the cannon.
That negative ability.
Yeah. Is brutal.
I feel like it's high risk. Yeah, it's high risk, high reward once again. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wait, did Splinter make my list today of? Oh wait, Splinter made sort of an honorable mention on my list of top 10 7-point ships.
Huh. Nice.
Yeah. I had to interject that. But yeah, that list is up on the forum for anybody who wants to.
Yeah, I
read that.
I still have to
Please leave a comment.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
All right.
That about wraps this episode up. So for anybody listening and watching, thank you for that. And we're going to be back with the rest of the set review. So thanks again. And this is the four of us signing off for now.
Goodbye.
Bye.